Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to NBR, or as we like to call it around here, Nothing But Rants, the show where I find topics that I'm oddly passionate about and I pontificate upon them. These are not hot takes, but rather takes that I'm hot about. What's up? You really like that?
Let's shut up and grind some tape.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome into the Film Guy Network on a beautiful Monday evening. Glad to have you guys here tonight. We have a loaded show, as always, on the upfront, right here up front. Go ahead, hit that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, rate, review, all that good stuff. We are at that time now, guys, where it's been a couple weeks now, actually. We had Missouri pop off like 3 weeks ago, it felt like, with their spring game. But a major spring game, particularly in the Georgia space and the ACC space and just college football space in general this weekend with Clemson. Clemson having their spring game up there in Death Valley. Where is Clemson located? Clemson, South Carolina, just straight up Clemson, in Death Valley, the stadium. Anyways, I went and watched it today, and I have some thoughts, opinions that I need to bring to you. The headline, obviously, when I got it sent to me from J. Will in the production chat today was, hey, Cade Klubnik, 13 for 26, an interception. Not great, Bob. Okay, not great. All right, the backup, 13 for 18, 146, 2 tuds. Look pretty good, Bob. We're here to talk about it because I went and watched it, like I said, today, and the very first thing that has popped off the tape with Clemson football the last couple of years, I would say the last 3 years, has not been quarterback play to me. When I watch them, I think, yeah, quarterback play is suspect, but damn, how do you expect this gentleman to have any type of success behind that offensive line? That is what I have been thinking about Clemson the last couple of years. I'm going to tell you what, went and watched it again, like I said today. That's exactly what it is. They have zero, and I mean zero, protection up front right now for this offensive line. They had 2 walk-through sacks. I'm talking about guys walking right down the middle of the Broadway, okay, right unevaded, nobody touching them, nobody even looking at them, putting a hand on them. Boom, quarterback sack. Within the first 2 drives, just complete blow-throughs. They have 4 returning starters, too. Here's what's the weird part, right? They have experience, but just because you have experience doesn't mean it's great experience, right? Tristan Lee, their left tackle, former 5-star. He's a senior now. He's coming into this year with 11 career starts. He kind of spot started for them last year, earned the starting role towards the end of the season. He's tremendously talented. I watched Sammy Brown kind of run right around him first play of the game. So there's that going on at left tackle. The left guard, Marcus Tate, is a 3-year starter. He is the one kind of lone, hey, that guy's never really quite given us problems. He's been an okay starter for us. We're going to keep him that way. Their right guard, Harris Sewell, he's a sophomore this year, started as a freshman last year. And of all the guys on their offensive line roster right now, I would circle Harris Sewell as like a potential dude. The rest of the guys seem a little bit suspect. Blake Miller, another kind of guy, one of those kind of guy-ish, okay? He's okay. He's not terrible out there at right tackle. After that, guys, that second offensive line unit for Clemson looks porous. I mean, the definition of porous is holes all in and throughout. It does not take very long when you watch Clemson and notice 47. 47 is Sammy Brown. He is from Jefferson High School right up the road here, and he's going to be a guy from them. Okay, whether or not he was going to be a 5-star evaluation for an SEC football team, I don't know, but Clemson plays a very unique style of defense at their linebacker position in particular. They are very downhill, aggressive-natured at their linebacker position to its nature and to its core, whereas at a place like Georgia, your job is to kind of fill open spaces, okay, make the ball bounce, and then pursue the ball carrier to the sideline. Well, one of those styles requires a really big, physical, downhill type of football player like Sammy Brown, and one of those styles of defense at linebacker requires like a real specimen of an athlete from a horizontal perspective. Sammy Brown is one of the best linear athletes I've ever evaluated. It's what we said about him coming out of high school. When it comes to, hey, that's the spot you got to go to right in front of you, no one will beat him to that spot. However, if you make him kind of run horizontally, turn, run, flip his hips, go cover the middle of the field, might be something he might get exposed to from a movement pattern skill set. However, he's going to be great at Clemson. That's what it looks like off the bat. And it looks to me like he's going to start for them, and he popped immediately. The other guy that popped immediately for them is Avion Terrell, a corner out of Westlake High School. Atlanta Falcons fans would know him as A.J. Terrell's younger brother. He had an extremely good freshman year last year. He seems to be piling on to that this year for them. They are extremely young on both sides of the football at key positions, but particularly on the defensive side of the football. We'll get to that here in just a little bit. I want to talk about Klubnik because, guys, it wasn't great. I'm going to be honest with you, not from what I saw. Here's the deal. The stat line is the stat line. 13 for 26. I think he threw 140 some odd yards, an interception, and should have had another one. The first interception was a very clear-cut miscommunication between him and a wide receiver. He thought the wide receiver was going to stop. Wide receiver thought he was on top. He was going to get a go ball. It was kind of a conversion route, something at Clemson that they call an Oscar RPO. We got inside zone this way, and we have Oscar on the outside, which is an option, right, for the wide receiver to either win on top or win with a back shoulder ball. Okay, it's kind of a two-way go for that wide receiver. They had a miscommunication there. Didn't necessarily blame that totally on the quarterback, even though the ball seemed rather indecisive, which is the number one thing you cannot do with that type of football. However, the very next possession, he's rolling right, and he throws a ball into what is clearly covered, a guy covered, corner up underneath. But what he doesn't see is the player that has now been attracted to the interception point because he's locked his eyes on the guy as he's rolling to his right. So corner sinks back in, takes it right off the face mask. Should have had a second interception within the first 4 drives of their offensive output in the first half. The other thing, he had 13 completions. Boys, I think I counted 5 tunnel screens in the first half.
Really?
Okay, yeah. If the ball was thrown at, near, or behind the line of scrimmage, tremendously accurate. If the ball had to be driven at any point down the field, it was either dropped, incompleted, intercepted. It just didn't look great from Klubnik's perspective. And then what was really weird, and what's always weird with these spring games, especially when we don't get to see a lot, we kind of get, 40 reps from Klubnik, 50 reps from Klubnik. We get 40 reps from Vizina, and then the walk-ons mixed in there as well, a guy by the name of Trent Pierman. Now, Trent Pierman is a 2-time state-winning champion quarterback in South Carolina. He is from Clemson, South Carolina. He's from the resident area, and he is a football-playing SOB. Okay, he is 6 foot tall. He's 185 pounds. He does not have the traits that everybody else does, but damn, does he move the football every time he's getting in there. He moved the football on Saturday exceptionally well, better than any of the other quarterbacks, I would say, combined, okay, in the first half that I watched. And by the way, I heard Dabo say something that made my ears perk up because he was on the microphone pretty much the whole first half. He said that every time in practice, every time in game situations, every time in scrimmage situations, when Trent Pierman is thrown in, something just happens and the offense moves the ball. Something just happens. Everybody around him wants to play better. Something just happens. And I watched what happened. What happened was Trent Pierman did not hold on to the football on Saturday. Trent Pierman did not try to do anything extra. Trent Pierman did everything that the offense was designed to do. Okay, if I'm getting pressure, here's my hot. All right, well, they're backed off. I'm going to take that slant at the top. Just basic quarterback play. And then I saw, got a slant, but they're playing zone coverage. I just got to throw it a little bit early under or in front of this guy, underneath that guy. Boom, right into the perfect window, on time, perfectly completed. Move the football with ease down the field, and I believe scored three touchdowns as an offensive unit with the ones. So I'm not here saying that Clemson has to play somebody other than Cade Klubnik, but Vizina looked a little troublesome. Klubnik looked a little worrisome, and then this Trent Pierman guy gets in there and just walks the football. And I didn't know what to think about it. I didn't know what to do with it. I will tell you this. If Clemson's going to be Clemson, if Clemson's going to play to the Clemson standard, they have the defense to do so. They have the defensive line to do so. They have the corner, or at least a corner, and I believe they have a really good young safety in Barnes, who we're going to get to in a second, that are really, really good young players. But they need the rest of their young players to play like studs. I'm talking about superstars. When you look at this roster, the Wesco kid at wide receiver has got to be an absolute dude as a true freshman. Okay, the Barnes kid, KJ Barnes, I'm talking about at the safety position. He's right up the road again from to Lake Town up there. Oconee. Okay, he played at Oconee County High School. All right, North Oconee, I believe. So they got him. Jamal Anderson, a kid from Mill Creek High School, had what should have been 2 interceptions on Saturday. Sounds like he's going to be a hit. He's in his second year. Sammy Brown's going to have to play meaningful downs for them as a freshman this year. I already mentioned Avion Terrell. Colin Sadler, a former high-ranked offensive lineman, he's going to have to find a way to get into this roster or at least be a 6th or 7th man here. Peter Woods has got to play out of his mind. AJ Hoffler from Woodward High School down here in Atlanta has to play out of his mind. And I already mentioned Bryant Westco. They have young players that seem to be uber talented at Clemson, but they are indeed young players, and they're going to have to ball out this year if Clemson's going to play to Clemson's standard. I did not love the play calling on Saturday, but I don't know. First of all, it's probably very vanilla, right? It's a spring game. Don't want to do anything exotic, right? That's the first thing. But second thing, they are so bad guard to guard that it's impossible to evaluate this offense for me. Every play, there is somebody parked in the lap of either the running back or the quarterback or the mesh point or whatever. Now, I know they got really decent to above average interior defensive linemen at Clemson. They are not slappies. They got dudes, okay? And really, really highly touted football players. They prioritize the defensive line. They prioritize the defensive side of the football in terms of recruiting. They can't be that good. They can't be that what it looked like on Saturday they looked like they were running through water. I mean, it was completely unabated at times on Saturday. What did you guys take away from Clemson's spring game on Saturday?
Well, it sounds like to me they're on track to have a repeat of what they did last year offensively. I just looked at the stats. They were in 105th and worse in explosivity on offense. I mean, no explosiveness on offense whatsoever in the passing game specifically.
I want to state this before you go into any further. They were number 1 in the country in plays ran last year on the offensive side of the football.
Oh, I did not know that.
Number 1 in number of plays ran. Now listen to how bad they were. Continue.
Yeah, I mean, 105th or worse in 20-plus yards, 30-plus yards, or 40-plus yards passing plays. They were 105th or worse. For the running game, it was okay. It was like 55th, 65th, in that 50 to 60 range in the running game. So they got some type of explosivity in the run game. But if you can't push the ball down the field, and you should be able to push the ball down the field with a guy like Klubnik. Now, obviously, it's not just an issue with him. Like you mentioned, the offensive line has been porous, but I mean, the offense eventually has got to get there. We're no longer in this age where, I mean, you can somewhat rely on your defense to kind of run through the ACC conference and maybe get yourself in a position to have a playoff spot, but it's not a recipe to provide the sustained success.
They also have this weird dynamic on offense right now at their skill position player where either they look like the Williams kid in the slot that's like 5'11", 185 pounds, super juicy, like real twitchy, or he's 6'2", 225. Like, they have these wide receivers at Clemson right now that are massive. They all look like tight ends. They have one guy from Utah, that's 5'11", 225 pounds.
It's a tree trunk.
Yeah, but when it comes to ACC football, when it comes to like really good football teams, you know what Duke did to them? Duke played across the board cover 1. They had one safety in the middle of the field. They put the other safety in the box. They went straight man across the board against Clemson. Duke's doing that to Clemson. So what do you think Florida State is going to do to them? Okay, because you can be as big and as physical as you want, but if you don't have dudes to separate, you're going to be in trouble. And that's what happened to them last year. They ran up against a bunch of football teams. Why do you think they struggled in the red zone? Well, they had a quarterback that was putting the ball at risk, but also they had nobody to win. And in the red zone, everyone and their mama becomes a cover 0 team. They pressure you, they play man, they make you win your one-on-ones. They were really bad at that last year, and nothing right now I see on the roster. And again, unless this Westco kid becomes a freak, Bryant Westco is his name, and he is. He looks like he's going to be a guy. But unless he is year 1, like plays like what we think Cam Coleman's going to do, I still think they're going to struggle in the red zone. Because guess what? Now they don't have Will Shipley. You know what I mean? Like they still have Phil Maffa on the roster, I believe, but it's not. The explosivity in the run game is not going to be there like it was last year unless they create holes to do so, which I just told you. I think they're extremely bad guard to guard.
Yeah, it sounds like it's going to be the Clemson story that we've heard for the last 3 years, where it's basically you don't have your Justin Rosses, your T. Higgins, even your Hunter Renfrows that you've had in the past, where you can rely on them in red zone situations or just to be an elite pass rush or pass catcher to go up and get it. you don't really have an offensive line that can protect the quarterback long enough, and because of that, your quarterback play has significantly suffered. I mean, everyone dogs on DJU, and he didn't play great, but he didn't have a great line protecting him either. I mean, Georgia got to him 7 times in that season opener. So
now, how much do you attribute Klubnik's issues to just offensive line play? Because for me, at least in my experience, like when I think back to when the Falcons were just putrid up front off the offensive line, Matt Ryan was still great in what he did. Like, he still found a way to move the ball to the best of his abilities. Like, those things still popped. Like, it still was clear, like, Matt Ryan is a good quarterback. That dude just doesn't have time. And I think we've seen that, like Spencer Rattler, same case. South Carolina was not great up front, but Spencer Rattler still managed to be able to impact football games and still kind of put them in some winning positions, maybe when they shouldn't be. So do you think it's just that it is just the offensive line, or Klubnik maybe just doesn't have it?
I think it's a combination of both. And right, is like, Spencer Rattler was athletic enough. First of all, he's a tremendous quarterback from a pocket management standpoint. Yeah. Like, he had to learn that as he continued his college football career, because they could not run the football at Oklahoma during his time there. So teams were teeing off on him. Like, they were getting good rushes. So he was having to work within constipated pockets and congested pockets. Whereas I don't know if this has been a skill that's been developed for Cade. And it's impossible to truly evaluate when they're blowing the whistle when you're getting tagged off on, you know what I mean, from a spring game perspective. But one thing that I didn't see every time I turn the South Carolina tape on, that I continuously see on Clemson, at South Carolina, guys get beat slowly. I'm in front of the guy, I engage, he gets his hands off me, sack in under 3 seconds, right? At Clemson, I mean, it's down, set, hut, boom. Guys like, woof, right here in my face. Well, what am I supposed to do with that? Like, how am I supposed to improve upon that? However, like I said, the other guy didn't have the problem. The other guy went with the same offensive line, and that's why spring games can sometimes get overanalyzed. Obviously, they're not going to I don't believe them to be able to make a change at the quarterback position. I think they're going to ride this one out, but he's pulled guys before. I think he pulled DJU a couple years back.
He pulled DJU. He pulled Kelly Bryant in 2017 or 2018.
I think at one point this year he pulled Cade, didn't he?
I don't know.
I don't know if he did or not.
I don't necessarily. I didn't at least see it from Christopher Vizina. It still looked like he was drinking from a fire hose. I can't express to you how much this Trent Pierman kid walked in there and was just like, "Hey, it's football, baby. Let's go play." You know what I mean? And there's something about that.
Now, is he like possibly an answer, or is this like a Chase Bryce situation where
he is a bona fide walk on.
Okay,
like,
so
he is number 3 on the depth chart. Oh. He is like no Scully guy. He's 6 foot, 185 pounds with a pea shooter for an arm. But buddy gets it done. Gets it done. Yeah. So I wouldn't even say this is like a Stetson Bennett situation.
Yeah. It's more like the Chase Bryce situation. You remember, like, the third string guy that came in and he would play for Clemson.
But Chase Bryce was 6'4", 225 pounds out of Grayson, was a high 4-star recruit. Like, right. That was a dude, from a traits perspective. Hell, I think Chase Bryce got an NFL call after his App State run. Like, Chase Bryce, a big physical kid. This kid is not, which even Dabo said that he doesn't have the abilities that some of the other guys does, but I can't get it out of my head. Something just happens when he gets in there. Something just happens. The offense seems to move the football, which, again, exactly what happened with this Trent Pierman kid in high school. 2-time state champion in big classification football in South Carolina.
Perhaps it's the Lord at work.
Dabo be out there. Welcome into tonight's show. It is a great one. We got a great one for you. Luke Fickell's a fighter, and I'm going to tell you why that is not a surprise at all. We have a top 10 quarterbacks list from ESPN. We're going to pick at it, I should say. We have a Guess Who. Play Guess Who normally on TTD. We got an NBR version of this coming up tonight. Scott Frost is apparently dying to get back into college football coaching. We'll talk about it. I don't know if it's going to happen, but we'll talk about it. Do we expect studs in this portal class? I got 2 categories. Okay, 2 categories of players I expect in the portal, including some really good football players with some big names, and I'll tell you why those guys get into the portal as well. But I want to start tonight's show with a classic. Let's laugh at Iowa. Should we laugh at Iowa?
I'd love to laugh at Iowa.
Let's laugh at Iowa. Caitlin Clark just finished up her college basketball career, and this year alone, gentlemen, she scored 1,234 points. A beautiful little number, 1, 2, 3, 4. Scored 1,234 points this season. In her 4 years playing basketball in Iowa, the Iowa football team amassed 1,028 points.
Wow.
In 4 years, they scored 1,000 points. She scored 1,200 this year. Now, I know it's hoops. I know they played 30 games. I get it. But, yeah, she outscored Iowa's football team this year over 4.
So I was trying to golly, that's still insane. I was trying to wrap my brain around, like, is it actually that crazy or is it not? Like, I mean, when you get a person like Caitlin Clark who can put it up better than anybody else, like, I mean, it's no shock that they put up a bunch of points like that. But, I mean, a 4-year stretch of football games, you would think that eventually you would eclipse that mark. But, I mean, Iowa's offense, we know, produces some crazy bad stats, and this is definitely one of those crazy bad stats.
Were they worse in 22 than they were in 23, or were they worse in 23 than they were in 22 offensively?
I think they were worse in 22.
It's like comparing horse shit and cow shit. They both stink.
My gut tells me they were worse in 22 just because
the stipulation got put in.
Yeah. Well, I know they weren't bad in 21 because they had like a pick 6 every other game. Like that fluky stat
where
their defense was scoring more points than their offense, but
it's good times. Good times out there at Iowa. Would imagine they're just as bad or slightly worse.
This last year, they averaged 15.4 points per game. They ranked, I think, 130 something.
Yeah.
And in 2022, they averaged 17.7, ranked 123rd.
That's a full safety a game right there.
Dang.
So how about that?
Awful.
Hey, I also want to give a quick shout out to our friends over at PrizePicks. If you have not already, run over to PrizePicks.com. Use promo code Brooks today. You get a 100% deposit match. There's a national championship game going on in like an hour. Now, you guys are going to be up till 1 o'clock anyway, so you might as well have some quiche on the line. You know what I'm saying? Head over to PrizePicks.com, promo code Brooks today, and get those locks in. All right, we got a great one for you. Again, make sure you hit that thumbs up button. We got a bunch of people in here tonight and a great show for you guys as always. Luke Fickell. Luke Fickell, for those of you who don't know, is at Wisconsin now. He was 7-5 last year, I believe, maybe 7-6. It wasn't as great of a year in Wisconsin, particularly in the Big Ten West, as we, and by we, I mean me, we projected. I once famously said that Luke Fickell could win 10 games in the Big Ten West with a D2 roster. He didn't manage to do so last year. That's okay. Okay, I still think he's a really good football coach.
Growing pains.
Luke Fickell was asked about fighting. I'm going to tell you a little something about Luke Fickell. Everybody knows Luke Fickell play football, right?
Yeah.
Everybody knows that. Well, Luke Fickell was a 6'5", 265-pound nose tackle in the 90s. Okay? Luke Fickell played 50 games in a row. Luke Fickell started 50 games in a row in the 90s at nose tackle at 265 pounds. Luke Fickell played his last college football game in the Rose Bowl, his 50th consecutive start, gentlemen, at nose tackle, with a torn pectoral muscle. Do you think Luke Fickell likes fighting?
I think Luke Fickell might be the poster child for like getting CTE.
I think Luke Fickell is fighting.
Yeah, that's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, Luke Fickell about that business. And when Luke Fickell was asked about fighting today, he said, on the record, I'll tell you no, I don't like fighting. I don't condone those things. But off the record, I would. You know what? As I said, to be able to play with the edge is really important. He would go on to say, I think it's a really, really healthy thing. If things escalate, if things get out of control where you can't practice and guys lose their mind, I don't think that's a good thing. But I think if you can't push these guys to make sure they understand there's an edge that you have to play with, it's going to be difficult for us to be the type of team we want to be. Luke Fickell wants some dogs.
He even went in to say that it's a teaching moment for the team to understand of like, hey, if we do get a little scrappy in a game, you got to understand like you can't put your hands on the other player, but you can kind of be in the mix a little bit. Like you got to know your boundaries. And he's like, it's a great teaching moment for our players to say like, this is what you can do. Like this is as far as you can go in these moments, but we got to keep it there. We can't cross the line.
I think it's smart. I mean, yeah, being able to teach, because you're not going to be able to avoid conflict when you play college football. It's just the way it is. So being able to minimize the negative consequences of that. There's definitely a bunch of players who have suffered negative consequences from fighting outside, whether it be suspensions or you get your ass beat, such as that. So,
look, I'm in total favor of this in practice, right?
Yeah.
Because I'm with him. This is not a game for the unaggressive natured person, right? You don't have to play, one of them kicking positions that we don't necessarily call a football player. If you're one of these people that don't walk around with an aggressive tendency about you, if you are fearful of contact, if you are fearful of confrontation, if you are fearful of hostile situations, you're 9 times out of 10, you are not a football player, or at least you're not a good football player. If you are one of these people that is either timid or lacks an aggressive nature or lacks a switch, if you will, you play offense. Ain't no doubt about it. Like, you are not living on the defensive side of the football. If you play defense, man, I want you unhinged, honestly. Like, because I try to explain this all the time, but just imagine, put one of these things on and run full speed into a wall. Just straight up. Just full speed into a wall, get up, do it again. You know what I mean? Like, that's what it requires to play the defensive side of the football. And you have to be willing to strike with a level of aggressive tendencies that most people do not have. So I am with this. We want good, wholesome humans. We want aggressive humans. That's what we want on the defensive side of the football.
You know, this is now the second coach that has spoken up about it. You know, Deion had his whole thing of like, I kind of condone it a little bit in my practices. Like, you want to get into it with your teammates, I'm fine with it. But again, you just can't cross the line. So
Deion famously said, if I see you not getting into it.
Yeah. If one fight, we all fight.
Yeah. If one fight, we all fight. That was him last year. We came on here and said the same exact thing. Like, I'm fine with it as long as on Saturdays there's a level of control, right? Because once the zebras get out there, we talking about suspensions.
Yeah, we can't be Draymond in it every single weekend. No, can't do that.
But yeah, I can't believe that some people are stunned by the idea that fights happen. We famously in high school had a rule where fights were good until a helmet came off, or until it's like almost like a hockey fight.
Yeah.
Once somebody goes to the ground, it's like over with. You got to get everybody off. But that's not how it normally finished. Normally, how it finished was a coach is going to have to drag somebody off the other guy, because that's just the way we go. And by the way, we didn't fight as much in college as my high school football team did. My high school football team had a much, much sharper edge to them than my college team. My college team went very much through the motions. They were not quick to fire. My high school football team was about that shit at any point, because we practiced that way. We practiced with, those two guys are going through the echo of the whistle. That's immediately going to start a fight.
Would you fight with each other or other teams at contact camps more?
OTAs weren't a huge thing when I was in high school.
Gotcha.
We didn't cross-pollinate as much as these kids do nowadays, but the high school kids nowadays do not fight in inter squads, because most of them are handled by really, really well coached football teams, and they handle that stuff in-house. You know what I mean? If you want to get aggressive and let it pop off, it's teammate versus teammate, because we have time to then mend that relationship afterwards. It's only consequences against other teams. Only consequences. So yeah, you have to be able to find that line.
Yeah. The only time we ever fought in high school was against other teams in like contact camps. So that's why I was asking.
No, we knew how to toe the line in between the whistles. Okay, but yeah, about that life when it comes to the fighting in football pads. However, I ain't trying to fight in real life. You can miss me with that one. I'm just good. I'm good. You can hit me as much as you want. I probably won't throw one back. That's, I ain't trying to go to jail.
Yeah.
Me either.
And I see way too many, not saying I'm like some KO master, but I see way too many videos on social media where two dudes fighting in the street, one guy gets knocked out, immediately hits his head on the concrete.
Oh, you're done.
That's death. Like you could be dead.
Attempted murder.
And then, I'm going to jail for attempted murder because some dude called me a bitch. Like, I'm good. Call me the bitch. We'll go home. You know what I mean? Like, I'm good on that one. Anyways. Love how those get derailed every once in a while on the show. Got a bunch of people in here. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button. All right. Now, ESPN did the thing, and then On3 did the thing, which put it back up on my radar today. ESPN wrote this article back in March, and that's okay. On3 re-reported it today, and that's okay too. But this is the top 10 quarterbacks according to ESPN college football writers. I believe there's 10 of these folks that vote on this, okay? 10 ESPN writers ranked their top 10 quarterbacks 1 through 10. And here's how we're going to do this. I'm going to list the name of the 1 through 10, and then going to tell you what I have problems with, and then maybe talk about some guys that got left out of this list that probably should have been involved. Here we go. Number 1, Carson Beck received 5 of the 10 votes for the number 1 overall quarterback in college football, followed by Dylan Gabriel, who received 3, followed by Quinn Ewers, who received the last 2 first place votes. Then number 4, Jalen Milroe, 5, Noah Fafita, Vita out of Arizona. Number 6, Jackson Dart. Number 7, Jalen Daniels from Kansas, who I wrote next to Still?
Yeah.
Still? My homie Still. Number 8, Shador Sanders. Number 9, Cam Rising. Number 10, Cam Ward. First thing that popped off to me, gentlemen, I'm okay with the top 3.
Yes.
That was the first thing I thought of. I'm okay with
I thought Gabriel ahead of Ewers was kind of questionable, but then I really thought about it. I was like, he's been solid for longer than Quinn, and he's been available longer too.
And he's got the head-to-head dub.
Yeah.
So I was good with the top 3. You?
Yeah.
Not really. I didn't like Gabriel at 2, to be honest.
Oh, you're a Gabriel hater.
Just not a hater. I think he's a tremendous quarterback. Like, I think he's great. I don't view him as top 2 quarterback in the nation. That's not how I view Dylan Gabriel. I think he has an ability to change football games, and he is definitely one of the upper tier guys, but I don't view him as like right there behind number 1.
That's fair.
I think it's Carson Beck, a pretty sizable gap. I mean, obviously 5 votes to 3 to 2.
Your dog is showing.
I mean, let's be fair. Like
your dog is showing.
Chill. Carson Beck, Dylan Gabriel, Quinn Ewers, who are you taking?
I mean, Carson Beck.
Yeah.
I don't think it's like a sizable gap.
Maybe sizable isn't the right word.
I think Dylan Gabriel and Quinn Ewers will put an identical stat line up this year that Carson Beck will.
I think Carson Beck is very clearly the number 1. Maybe not like well,
the votes say that he got 2 more votes than anybody else.
Yeah,
or he got half of the first place votes.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm with you there. After that, I got problems.
Yes.
Right. Jalen Milroe at 4 is extremely rich for my blood.
Extremely rich.
And here's the deal, guys. Now, I might be a Tommy Rees defender, maybe a little bit too much.
Yeah.
But I don't think people recognize what Tommy Rees did with that quarterback last year. If y'all watch the first 5 games, they are a drop-back pro-style offense. They are running real Sunday shit. Like they are trying to turn this quarterback into a pocket passer, and then they give up. They're like, you know what? We'll concede. And then by the end of the year, Alabama had one of the more diverse run packages of any football team in the sport. You know what that was? That was Tommy Rees morphing the identity of that football team. And here's my question. I know Kalen DeBoer is a great offensive mind. We know this. There's facts to this, right? We know he lost his offensive coordinator, Ryan Grubb. We all understand that, right? But we know he is a great coordinator. But what I know about Kalen DeBoer's history is that he handpicked Michael Penix, a very pro-style, pocket-based quarterback, although tested out of the world, right, during his pro day. But lives, dies, eats, sleeps, kills you from the pocket, okay? He had an opportunity. We have a whole plethora of quarterbacks going into the portal, okay, last December. You know who he selects? Will Rogers, the definition of a pocket passer. Didn't get interested in Cam Ward. Didn't get interested in the Howard kid. Didn't get interested in any of these athletic dudes. He got the lesser than arm talent with an elite processor on the top of his shoulders. That's what he got. Then he goes to Alabama, and he does not have that. He has a guy who is an immense athlete. You listen to that Josh Pate interview that he did with him the other day, and the number one thing he says about Jalen Milroe is the number one thing we say. Tremendous athlete, huge arm. Tremendous athlete, huge arm. That is not what he's prioritized ever at the position. So I'm not saying he can't morph into maximizing the skill sets of a Jalen Milroe. But I'm telling you, when it comes to a skill set, he would prefer Ty Simpson. That's what his history tells me. His history tells me he wants the pocket passing, accurate, great decision maker, which is exactly what Ty Simpson is. It is the antithesis of what Jalen Milroe is. Is Jalen Milroe one of the top 10 quarterbacks in college football? Yes. Is he the preferred style of quarterback of Kalen DeBoer? History says no. So I don't know if they're going to have that type of number 4 quarterback in the country, boom, from Jalen Milroe. Any other kind of, thoughts on that and then problems that you have?
Yeah, my initial reaction to it is this is a guy who lost his head coach, lost his offensive coordinator, has all new parts coming in. It's essentially a new coaching staff, and you're telling me this kid's going to be the 4th best quarterback in the country. When all those things going down, on top of the fact that, like you said last year, they were trying to fit a square peg in a round hole for 5 weeks and it didn't work out.
I think it's just people maybe are getting a little caught up of looking what the progression was for Milroe last year, like how much better he was in week 14 than he was in week 1, and just assuming that like, oh, another spring, some more games under his belt, like this guy is going to be a much better quarterback than he even was at the end of last year. But like you're saying, there's still a lot of questions around that, and there's still a lot of uncertainty for me to be saying that he's number 4. One of mine was, get Cam Rising off of this list. Brother, this man has not played a snap of football for a full calendar year. I do not feel comfortable saying he's a top 10 quarterback.
Well, he's 34 years old.
He is 34 years old.
He's got plenty of experience.
But and the numbers were great when he played. Like, he was a great quarterback for the Utes when he was healthy. But man, this guy has been able to stay healthy. And for me, like, missing out on all of last year, don't exactly know what that's going to look like for him coming back from injury. We don't know if he's going to be able to move around the same or whatever.
Yeah.
I just would say keep him off the list for now.
I think my biggest takeaway from this is a pretty weak quarterback class this year, at least going into it.
We had this take a couple weeks back about Carson Beck being the clear-cut one in the draft.
Right.
And not saying he's, like I said, not saying he's far and ahead of everybody else, but from an NFL draft perspective, it looks like, hey, Carson's a first-round draft pick. We'll see if Quinn Ewers plays his way into that consistently and stays healthy. And then after that, it's like, you know,
Dylan Gabriel.
Who is going to be a first-round draft pick next year? I don't love Noah Fafita sitting at 5 here.
No.
I've been on the record. I think they take, Buddy from San Jose State is not the head coach that they had last year. And he will remain Buddy from San Jose State until he is no longer Buddy from San Jose State. But when you win 43% of your football games at San Jose State and then get $3 million a year from Arizona, you are Buddy from San Jose State until otherwise noted. So there's that. I don't love the Fafita there. I would have bumped Jackson Dart ahead of both of those individuals. And then I think Shadur Sanders is way too low.
I agree on that.
I 100% agree.
I was shocked to see him in 8th just because of the hype that he gets around his name always, but I feel like 8's too low.
I do too. I had him all the way up at 5 behind Jackson Dart. I thought Cam Ward was way too low. For my taste. I think Cam Ward's going to do well this year in Miami. I don't know if the team around him is going to be good in terms of like ACC contention good, but I think Cam Ward's going to look good.
Is there anyone left off this list that you think should be
bunch of names? I don't know if they deserve to be on this list, but there's a bunch of names that could very well be on this list come the end of the year, like Nico Iamaleava. I think Nico has an opportunity to be a top 6, top 7 quarterback in the sport this year if he continues upon what I saw against Iowa. I didn't box score scout that Iowa game. I went and watched that Iowa game. I saw an extremely calm and collected quarterback, and I was also stunned to see him run the football as well as he did in that football game. Not from he's fast, he's a good runner, he's a good athlete. I knew that. What I didn't know was he's got feel. Like he has the ability running the football to deliver blocks, set up blocks. He doesn't just see grass and go, which is the whole kind of evolution of a runner and a ball carrier once you get to college. What looks to be grass from 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage will be a closed window once you get there. So we have to be able to push the grass and then find the new one once we get there. And he did a great job of that as a runner. And I know he's a thrower. They're air raid offense. He's got to be able to throw the football accurately and down the field for them to be great, to them to be 2022 Tennessee. But the greatest downfall, it wasn't just the accuracy from Joe Milton last year. It was his inability to be a factor in the running game.
Yeah.
If you go back and watch Tennessee in 2022 with Hendon Hooker's, part of the reason I believe he got hurt was they were using his legs as a key portion of that offense to move chains and to get real chunk plays in the run game on top of their general run game, which is really, really good at Tennessee because of the spacing that they have. But when you're already playing with a light box, which by nature every opponent against Tennessee will be playing with a light box because of the spacing. When you play with a light box and the quarterback's a running threat, you're up a creek without a paddle. And I think he does have an opportunity to play his way into this.
Yeah, I thought Nico, maybe not right now, but I think he definitely will be at this list. Would I be crucified to say that Graham Mertz kind of belongs on this list, in my opinion?
To the normal casual that doesn't watch tape, probably. But if you watched Graham Mertz last year, you would have thought he was making chicken salad out of chicken shit quite often.
Yeah. I mean, I would have been fine with like just slide him in at 10. Like say he's the 10th best, or like I don't know, give him a little shout out at least. I thought he played really, really well considering the surrounding cast. So I just think that he deserves a little bit of credit for what he did last year. I think it was like 74.5% completion percentage, 20 touchdowns to 3 interceptions. Like that's an elite ratio, man. He protected the football. He didn't put Florida in an even worse position than they already were in football games. And I thought for what he had, I thought Graham Mertz played pretty dang good.
Yeah, I mean, the argument against that would be it's hard to put a quarterback in the top 10 when their team's losing that much, and then you look and Shedeur Sanders is there. That might be why he's at number 8, but I think it's hard, yeah.
Riley Leonard?
I was kind of questioning it. I thought maybe.
All right, I figured out the Kyron Jones hype. The kid from Virginia Tech. Mm-hmm. He started the last 7 games. He put up 2,000 yards passing and 818 yards rushing in those 7 games.
Ooh, it's pretty good.
That's pretty damn good.
Who'd he play?
Yeah.
I didn't look that up.
That might be.
I don't know if they were playing, school Tittawatta Tech.
Kyron Jones.
About to find out.
So drones. Drones. I've done that multiple times. How about KJ Jefferson getting left off this list? I think everyone forgets he's down there in a really favorable offense for him with Gus Malzahn.
I think KJ Jefferson never lived up to the hype at Arkansas.
He had that one great year, and then everyone just assumed and put the hype on him. So you're right. He never lived up to 2020.
Not through any fault of his own. I mean, the team around him kind of sucked as well. But I think that really left a sour taste in everyone's mouth to the point of, oh, he's not good anymore. Yeah. So.
I mean, I was looking at the Kyron Drones games. I mean, it wasn't against any slappies. I mean, his best games were like against Pittsburgh. They were against Wake Forest. They were against Boston College, North Carolina State, Virginia. So, again, like not these top-tier teams, but at least it's conference opponents that he will be playing again in his career.
Any other OLIs?
What do you think Will Howard?
I think that tells you alone right there.
I honestly think they spent, he was going for well over $1 million, I think is what the reports were. I think they spent $1 million to get a named version of Devin Brown. I don't see a difference in the two's playing style. They're both going to be featured in the run game. They're both going to be, mediocre to above average passers. He might be slightly better. He's got game experience. But that's what I think of Will Howard. I don't think we're going to be looking up in 5 years and being like, damn, Will Howard made it in the league. Yeah. Like, Will Howard's out here starting on Sundays? I don't think we're going to be seeing that.
Probably not.
But I think it's going to be impossible to fail at Ohio State standpoint this year for me. The roster's just too damn good. Mm-hmm. The roster's too damn good for them to not, be above average on offense.
Last one I have is Brady Cook. Do you think he should have been on this list?
Probably. He should have been on my OLI. Because he's going to put up 3,500 yards this year. There's no doubt about it.
And he's got the best receiver in the country. So.
Yep. And it returns everybody. They return their whole core of wide receivers.
With the exception of Schrader, but I mean.
Yeah.
They've still got the passing game's still there.
The passing game, everybody's still there. All right, that was ESPN's Top 10. Should we play Guess Who? I'm excited about this.
I love a game of Guess Who, and I was excited about this one. What if I told you that the highest paid offensive coordinator in college football ranked 96 in the country for points per game last year?
Ew.
Do you know who it is? I did not know who it was.
Highest paid coordinator in the
highest paid offensive coordinator in all of college football. That's who this guy is, and I'll give you some more context if you need it. They averaged 23.2 points per game last year. He is paid $1.85 million per year, and they scored more than 25 points just 5 times last season.
It's a Big Ten team, right?
No.
My gut reaction was going to be it's Garrett Riley from Clemson.
He's second. He's second highest paid.
Which is still kind of crazy.
I have.
Oh. It came to me now. It's the Auburn OC, isn't it?
Nope. It's Andy Ludwig from Utah. He is the highest paid offensive coordinator in college football. Now,
last year, he's been there 20 years.
He's been there since 2019 as offensive coordinator. That's when he got that label. But, I mean, so last year he had a crapshoot at his quarterback position, too. They kind of had a lot of moving parts. But I had this article, and it was like the highest paid offensive coordinators in college football, and his name was at the top of the list. And I was like, what?
That's crazy.
That's an asterisk season, I feel like, though. Because, I mean...
Yeah.
It's Ludwig, then it's Riley.
But even even from a year in, year out basis, Utah just strikes me as a well-rounded football team.
Right.
They don't strike me as someone who's spending $2 million a year on offensive coordinating.
Yeah, definitely not a team that you think of, oh yeah, offensive powerhouse right there. Like they're putting up points at bunches. Yeah, no.
He must have been up for some massive job.
Yeah,
and must have strong-armed them to keep his pay or keep his job at Utah. That's crazy.
But yeah, the top four are Ludwig, Riley from Clemson, and then Weiss from Ole Miss, and then Andy, whatever his name is, starts with a K from Penn State. Those are your top four offensive coordinators in the country.
It's interesting on the top four offensive coordinators, none of them have the top five offense.
Mike Bobo's tied for 6 with the Rutgers offensive coordinator, Nebraska's offensive coordinator, and Oregon's offensive coordinator.
Bro, Rutgers OC up here getting a bag.
Yeah, he's getting $1.4 million.
Good for him. Holy shit.
Bobby Petrino's 5th, tied for 5th for $1.5 million.
You got an expensive lifestyle, I've been told.
Makes sense.
No, I would have never guessed Andy Ludwig.
Yeah, I would have never guessed that.
From Utah. Nice little segment there. All right. Speaking of overpaid coaches, Scott Frost wants back in. Now, there was a 16-page pub piece from CBS Sports, and I don't know whose agent got in touch with who to write this, but Scott Frost is, quote, dying to get another shot as a head football coach. That was the title from Dennis Dodd's article today.
If he does that, I don't know how he's going to get another shot.
But anyways, it's been made apparent that Scott Frost thinks and wants another head coaching job. Now, he said he would be willing to take the right offensive coordinating job, but this article was very, very clearly set to be written in order to people to think Scott Frost is out here back into the head coaching market in college football. So much so that they kind of not blame, but they excuse away a lot of the losses and a lot of the turmoil at Nebraska as well. You know, he had 3 different athletic directors. He had 3 different presidents during his time in Nebraska. You know, he only lost so many games by such this whole bunch of points about how Scott Frost is not that bad of a football coach. Scott Frost was never going to win in Nebraska. No one's won in Nebraska. Scott Frost, someone give him another job. It's the whole point of this article. And boys, everybody knows about Scott Frost's record. He was 16-31 during his time in Nebraska with, and I quote, 22 one-score losses. His last 21 games, I think he lost, were all one-score losses. 12 of those 31 losses were by 5 points or fewer. He did not have a good run. Did not have a good run at Nebraska at all. The record was absolutely atrocious, but they were, quote, in every game. Right? They were in every game. So how bad truly was it? How bad of a coaching job was it? You know, can you really fault the guy? Doesn't he deserve another chance? If they were kind of close enough, but they just never quite got it done. Maybe he had some bad luck. You know, the AD changeover, the presidency changeovers, all this stuff. NIL wasn't available, so it still was Nebraska of old. They weren't able to recruit, yada, yada, yada. You can excuse all of this away, and you can say, yeah, he was in these close games. And then I went and looked at it today, guys. This joker found new ways to lose football games every single week.
Yeah.
One time, in one football game that he lost by 1 score, he had 3 turnovers and 11 penalties. Oh. You're not going to win that football game. In one game, in one of these one-score games that he lost, they gave up 250 yards of total offense and 24 points in the fourth quarter alone.
Ew.
In one of these football games, they had 9 penalties and gave up a game-winning 99-yard drive to Ohio State, right? Nope, to Northwestern.
Oops.
Finding new ways to win. In one of these football games, they lost to a Minnesota football team who was down 33 scholarship players during the COVID season. And here's the kicker, hadn't played a game in 3 weeks.
Tough.
I don't care about the 1-score losses, boys. This guy is a bad football coach in these tight football games, which means you are a bad football coach.
Situationally, I mean, it's hard to disagree with
You're
that.
a bad head coach.
Yeah.
You're a bad head coach. You're not a bad football coach, but you are a bad head coach if you cannot manage to win these tight games.
Yeah. Do you want to know how many one-loss games he won?
3?
5.
5.
So he's 5-22 in one-score games is time in Nebraska.
Love that.
Yeah, your initial reaction is like, oh, he lost a bunch of one-score games. Like, he's a good football coach. Like, he just couldn't get the job done, had some bad luck. But when you dive into it, those stats, it's like, buddy, no, that is not the case. Scott Frost, you do not belong as a head coach.
Again, it wasn't like, hey, we can't score on offense.
Yeah.
Well, it was, we can't score on offense this week. And the next week, we can't stop a nosebleed. And the next week, we're getting penalties left and right. And the next week, we give up 99 yards with under a minute. And then the next, and the next, and the next, and the next. And it's like, buddy, you do not have control, is what it seemed like, right? And I guess the question is, do you get another opportunity if your first stop was truly this bad?
Well,
right? And it was that bad. He is the worst football coach at Nebraska since the 1950s.
Yeah, I mean, it obviously, we all know his tenure at Nebraska was disastrous, and especially coming in, he was kind of looked at as the prodigal child coming to return home and bring Nebraska back to prominence.
Oh, everyone gave the hire an A+.
Yeah.
Everyone gave the hire an A+.
But I do think that you can't discount what he did at UCF when he was there.
That's fair.
And I think for that reason, like a smaller Big 12 team could possibly give him a chance. Like, I don't think any team that ever has national aspirations is going to give him a chance like that again, or at least not in this tenure. But I think there is an avenue where, like, maybe a Houston or a BYU say, you know what, let's see what Scott Frost can do for us.
I don't even think it's going to be that high. I think the path is laid out for him. It's the Tom Herman route. He's going to have to take the Tom Herman route. Tom Herman took 3 years off of coaching football after he flamed out at Texas, and it was bad at Texas. Okay, took 3 years off, did whatever, took the money from Texas and the buyout clauses, I would imagine, set dormant, then went and got the head coach's job at FAU last year. Last year was his first year. He was 4-8. Okay, so we'll see, right? But you're going to have to win at FAU again before you get another big job. I don't think a Power 4 football team is going to give him a shot right now based off how bad it was. You're going to have to go win at a mid-major if
like
you want
a
to be
Jim
a head coach.
McElwain kind of.
Yeah, you're going to have to go do that. Go play at Central Michigan or coach at Central Michigan or do what Butch Jones is, take an Arkansas State job and see what you can make happen. And then at that point, that decides your destiny. If you're going to make the jump up again, then you're going to have to concede at that level. I don't see anybody of the major Power 4 conferences taking a shot.
Yeah, probably not Power 4, but I think there is a team out there that would hire Scott Frost.
There's a redemption tour somewhere. He's only 49 years old.
Right.
So there's plenty of time for him to get back into this, and it sounds like there's a willingness to do it. Now,
he won the national championship in 2017.
Yeah, that's true. He does have a natty ring. There was a good portion of the article that talked about how times have changed since he left Nebraska, right? Nebraska wasn't able to recruit at the rate that they do now because now they have one of the bigger NIL budgets in the country. We know this. And we've seen it kind of play out in the recruiting circuit and in the player acquisition realm. So things have changed in Nebraska. I would say it's easier to win there now than it was in 2018, 2019, 2020 during his run. So that there is some, hey, he had a bad deck there. But then again, bro, you cannot continue to find new ways to lose tight football games. And again, me feel good. I can't feel good about your coaching regime if you just found new ways to lose. It wasn't like your team was, like I said, it wasn't like your team did one thing bad and that cost you every single week. You did a whole bunch of things bad every other week. That's not good coaching. That's not buttoned up across the board.
Okay, wait a minute. I might change my tune on the Scott Frost thing. He's coached 7 seasons as a head coach. Mm-hmm. He's had 1 winning season. That was a 13-0 season at UCF.
So it was a blimp on the radar.
Yeah, he was 6-7 the year before that. Now, that UCF team he took over, I think, was really bad, and the way he turned it around in 2 years was kind of what made him the coach, the high desirable coach at Nebraska at the time. But looking at, it's 6-7, 13-0, 4-8, 5-7, 3-5, 3-9, 1-2.
Makes you respect James Franklin's ability to win 10 games, doesn't it?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Nebraska would love a James Franklin. Holy shit.
I know, but that's a very similar path. You have 1 great year at Vandy. You have 1 great year at UCF. And then now you're a top 10 football coach in the sport. They pay you like one. They put you at a job like one. They put the responsibilities and the expectations on you like one. Franklin survived. To a tune of $100 million. So he's done more than survive. But yeah, it makes you realize, this is kind of hard. This is really hard to do. What, you looking at it?
James Franklin had back-to-back 9-4 seasons at Vandy.
That's a dub.
That's
a big dub.
That will never be done again.
Never.
ever. So yeah, maybe James Franklin gets a little bit too much shit.
Yeah, but
you know what I mean.
But I mean,
back off, James Franklin, Film Guy Network. What were you? But I mean,
no, I'm just saying. But I mean, like, I think James Franklin gets a lot of shit just because he hasn't been able to get over that hump, and it's kind of reverted to the fact that, oh, you've only got this job because you had one good year at Vanderbilt. But I mean, he was a good coach before that. Like, you make 2 9-4 seasons out of Vanderbilt, you're doing something right.
Chad makes a good point. UCF was like 0-13 when Scott Frost showed up.
Wow.
So
right.
It was a building block there. He went from 0-13 to like 6-5 to 7-7 or 7-5 to 13-0.
Yeah, when he took over the 0-13 team, took them 6-7, and then went 13-0. Okay. He was only there for 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a quick turnaround. That's the kind of turnaround that a mid-major needs to be buying in on. I'm with it. Like, if you're this year's version of UCF, you need to go hire this guy and see if he can turn you out, like he did UCF. All right, on to our last segment of the National Hour, which is, do we expect any studs in the portal? Any big names? Any actual dudes? I'll break it down into this. I see 2 types of people entering the portal this spring. Okay. The first type is going to be in abundance. All right. This is the player who has lost a position battle, or it looks very apparent that playing time is nowhere on the horizon for his current football team in his current home. Now, 9 times out of 10, that player takes a step down. Okay. That player goes from, let's say, Oregon to, let's say, like, Division 1 AA school somewhere, right? Normally, the player that's like 4th on the depth chart at offensive tackle at Georgia doesn't transfer to Alabama. That's not normally how this works, okay? Normally, that player has been either asked to leave or has been told, hey, you're not the guy, or has been told, we don't see you being the guy anytime soon. It might behoove you to leave. That's the first player that's going to be hitting the portal, okay? Some of those players have already hit it. If you've been paying attention today, there's been 3 or 4 guys at Power 5, Power 4 football programs that are hit. Ohio State's third string running back just hit it. Colorado's safety just hit it.
Missouri
right?
had 3 players today.
Yeah, so there's been players across the country that have already seen the writing on the wall at their current university. They're hitting the portal. That's going to be the very first player. So is that player a stud? Probably not, right? Probably not unless he's playing behind an absolute freakazoid in front of him, right? I think Oregon's got a 3rd string quarterback that could play at a lot of other schools.
Yeah.
Okay, he was really highly recruited, and nobody talks about him. Austin Novosad. Anybody remember the name? Austin Novosad was a highly touted quarterback coming out of high school a couple years ago. Well, now he's sitting behind Dylan Gabriel and Dante Moore. So is Austin Novosad a bad football player? No. Is Austin Novosad probably not going to get a shot to start this year? Yes. That's probably going to happen. Is Austin Novosad going to hit the portal? I don't know. But that is the type of player that I would be looking at and saying, hey, he might have an impact on somebody else's roster. The 4th string corner from Oregon that might hit the portal this year, you know what I mean? That guy may or may not play. That's the first category of player. Now, the second category of player is the one that's going to have people freaking their minds out, right? The second group of player is the player that is poachable. The player that is poachable somewhere right now has people in their willies worried about a week from now, right? And what does that player look like? Well, that player is at every school. He's somewhere to be had right now. And that player at that school has one of 2 things happening. His current school comes to him and says, hey, money's a little tight right now. Probably not going to be able to pay you what we're being able to pay you right now. You might have to take a pay cut. That player might be calling around. Okay. And that's happening. That's happening all across the country right now, where money's a little tight or money doesn't look like it's going to be available for that player. We might need to cut you from $25,000 a month to $22,000 a month. Well, coach, somebody just called me and said they can give me $30,000. Well, we have a Mexican standoff in our midst, right? That player is going to happen. That player is going to happen all across the country, and he's going to be a big name. Now, he might go into the portal, and that school that he hit the portal from might be able to find him some additional revenue because he's finally threatened to do so. That's going to happen, and that is the free agency of this nowadays, right? That's the free agency of college football right now, where, hey, money might not be able to be increased, but money's being able to be increased elsewhere. This other school is offering me this. Well, that other school might be taking you. So, yeah, there are going to be some big names in the portal that are doing it in order to get a pay raise. They're not doing it because they're not happy where they're at. They're doing it because they want to hit free agency. And that is where we are at in college football. And some people are going to turn their nose up to that, but that's the reality.
Those are the guys that you're going to see all over social media of NIL has ruined college football.
Yeah. Yeah, those are going to be the ones that have it happen like that. But yeah, there are going to be some big name guys that get poached. And the way that they get poached is we have saved up enough sprint money this spring, or we have cut this many guys off of our roster that were toting money. So now we have this abundance of cash in this one particular position. We're going to spend it. We're going to put it on this kid. We're going to try to get this kid into the portal and bring him over. That's going to happen. So the key for you as a football team, wherever you're at, if you want to retain your roster, you better either be a tremendous relationship builder and cultivator, right? You better be able to talk to these kids and have them give you their honest reel, right? Kirby Smart says it all the time. When kids come to me and say they're hitting the portal, every single one of them has a plan. They know where they're going. So how do they know where they're going? Well, they've already had these discussions. Well, you better be having these discussions with them and know when these discussions are being had. That is the modern, kind of reality of where we are at in college football now. And that's just the deal, man. That's where you're at in college football. So, yeah, going to be some good football players, but they're going to cost a lot of money. They're going to cost a lot of money. Or their school may not be able to pay them what they're paying them.
So spring players more expensive than winter players?
The good ones. The big players that hit the portal. I mean, the most famous version of this in my mind is Jordan Addison from Pittsburgh a couple years ago. Remember?
Yeah.
He hit the portal and it was like, oh, well, we know what he's doing. He's bag hunting. Well, there's going to be a couple of those.
Okay.
There's going to be a couple bag hunting operations and missions going on this spring. Some guys that have already done it. Some guys already hit that bag once, and they stick around for a calendar year, and they're like, you know what? That free agency shit was kind of cool. They flew me around everywhere. They paid for everything. Then they gave me some cash, and then they gave me a raise. What? I'm going to go do this again. So, yeah, there's going to be some of that.
Makes it hard to forget your name, too. That's for sure.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But if you're going to be doing this, if you're going to be a last-minute leverage playing, folks, you better be an absolute dude. Hey, we got a whole nother hour coming up for you right now, and I got some NIL collective talk to bring it to you. What is a collective? We're going to talk about it here at the top of the hour.
Welcome into Talk the Dog, the show where we find a bone to pick and a take to give. These are not hot takes. These is dog takes. Can I talk that dog? What's up? You really like that? Let's shut up and grind some tape.
Good.
What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back for another hour here on the Film Guy Network. Make sure you're hitting that thumbs up button, like, subscribe, and rate, reviewing. A lot of people in here watching tonight. We appreciate you for being here. No better place to talk college football than this spot right here. If you have not already, please subscribe. We're trying to get to 22,000. I think we're pretty close. It would be pretty awesome if we could hit that sometime soon. It's been kind of a slow climb and a slow build. We're hitting about 1,000 new subscribers every 2 weeks during the season.
Yeah.
It's not been that this offseason. So make sure you hit that thumbs up button. And for sure, make sure you're subscribing tonight if you are not already. What is a collective? I think a lot of people have just assumed that this is like some big bank account that a bunch of people just put money into, and it just keeps kind of building. And it's like this reserve of money to end up paying your roster. Kinda. It's not really what it is. What it really is, after conversations I've had with people in the last couple of weeks, it's basically a super PAC. You know how like when you run a campaign, say you're running for governor, you get all this endorsement money, you get all this money in, you get all this lobbying money in, right? And then you spend it over your length of your campaign. That's basically what a collective is nowadays, except for the super PAC gets spent every month. right? You say, like, used to in the old days when pay for play was the bag man, here's how this operation worked, right? You would contact your boosters, your big money boosters, your guys that have just shitloads of cash just laying around, right? You would contact these people and you would put together like almost like a hidden bank account, and you would get all this assets and you would store it, and you would have it for a rainy day. It would almost be like a rainy day fund. And what that rainy day would be is, hey, man, we're getting some pushback from school X on 5-star Y. Okay, it might take some down payment. It might take some cash. It might take a bag drop. So you would have this money saved, and you would take a portion of it, you'd put it into a bag, and then you go drop it off at player X, right? Boom, right there, wham. And you'd really only do that for, like, I don't know, not your whole roster, right? Not your whole roster. It would really only be players that needed that type of inducement or encouragement to come to your roster. Bags were really saved for high-end 5 stars, guys that you couldn't afford to lose, things like that. That's how it used to work, right? So there would be this kind of like, savings account, if you will, this rainy day fund for college football recruiting. Nowadays, it ain't like that. Nowadays, it is a monthly recruiting budget that has to be recuperated every single month. Because nowadays, it is not, hey, we got a couple 5 stars on our roster that we put down payments on years back, and now we're receiving those return on investments, and we got to go make new down payments on the next round of players. That's not what this is. Nowadays, this is, hey, we have a roster salary of X amount of dollars. We have to raise that every single month, pay it out, and then worry about how to raise it the next month to get this money back out to these players. All right, this is a monthly super PAC that has to get the funds raised for it, and then it's immediately spent, and then it has to immediately get raised back again. Sure, occasionally there are boosters that give one big lump sum payment, and they're like, boom, here is my donation for the year, thanks. That donation is then spread out across the calendar year in order to make sure they can get all of their payments made. That's how this is working nowadays, right? Which means Ryan Day wasn't bullshitting you when he came out 2 years ago and said it's going to cost him $13 million a year to maintain his top 3 roster. I'm here to tell you that number has slightly escalated. If you told me, let's just put a number on it, it costs $15 million a year to get a top 3 roster and maintain and pay a top 3 roster in today's world of college football, I would not put it past it. Okay. So what does that mean? That means you got to come up with about $1.2 million a month. That's what you got to come up with. So you have to be constantly campaigning for more money and more money and more money and more money. So you know what you got right about now? You got some extreme donor fatigue in college football. That's what you got. You got old money boosters that are constantly being berated monthly for income. Hey, we need to do this. We got to get back up to our monthly stipend so we can put it all out to our roster, right? Our roster value has been about $1 million a month across the board for top 3 to top 5 rosters in this sport. And by the way, you at the University of Georgia, no shocker, you got one of those rosters. Now, granted, you got a Power G on your chest, and you got 2 national titles, and you got 27 draft picks in the last 2 cycles. So yes, there is a bargain discount when you come to the University of Georgia. Everybody knows that. But it's slowly, that gap and willingness to take pay cuts when the rest of the sport is going nuts right now, it ain't working like that. It ain't happening like that. So every spring when poaching time comes around, guess what? Money gets really tight, like it is right now at Georgia. It is no secret. If you do any reading around the Georgia space right now, you will come to find out that money seems kind of tight. Guess what? From conversations that I had, money's tight across the entire sport right now because there is extreme donor fatigue. Apart from 2 places, there are billionaires that really, really care about football. Oregon, Miami. The Ruiz cat down there who is under federal investigation right now for all of his, Digicoin, all of his Bitcoin, all of his fake money, NFT shit. That guy has an endless budget and he cares about football. And then there's that Phil Knight guy out at Oregon, where if they come up to Phil Knight and they say, Phil, we're $500,000 short this month on payroll. Okay. Nah, whatever. Yeah. Like at Oregon, you can do that. At Georgia, If they come up short on payroll, you know what they have to do? They have to make hundreds of phone calls, hundreds and hundreds of phone calls, okay, in order to get the whatever money that they're short on. They can't just call one big booster and say, hey, I need $100,000. They're not going to get it. Okay, so they have to call around. By the way, this is like this everywhere else. All right, there is one school that is out here doing it way better than everybody else. Any guesses?
Texas A&M?
Wrong.
Probably.
Texas A&M oil money.
I was going to guess Texas with the oil money.
Texas, couple billionaires, they give it to the whole sport. Right? They give it to everybody. They give it to school, and it gets dispersed down to the football team. There is one school that is doing this collective business way better than everybody else, and it's the Tennessee Volunteers. Everybody does the, Tennessee, whatever. Tennessee's doing it right now. Tennessee is doing it better than everybody else. Tennessee is doing this from a mass marketing, multi-level marketing strategy through a collective called Spire Sports. Everybody points to Jimmy Haslam, the owner of the Browns. He puts a lot of money into Tennessee, the University of Tennessee. He does not, and he is not allowed to specifically give money to the football program, okay, because he owns an NFL organization. However, if you told me that he was bankrolling Spire Sports, I wouldn't put it past him. Okay, so here's how this works. Spire Sports is a tremendous marketing agency, but they are attacking this super PAC way better than everybody else. They are approaching the boosters. They are approaching the common fan. They have marketing strategies inside stadium events for fans to donate during their fan experience. They are spending money on the marketing up front to where Tennessee fans know about Spire Sports. Tennessee fans know how to get in contact with the donation department at Spire Collection. Tennessee fans are well aware that if I put my money into Spire Sports, it will come out via football, dividends, right? We will see a return on our investment on the football field. Okay, they are doing it, and they are really the only absolutely elite football program right now that is running a collective at this mass operation that they are, because Spire Sports has a different operating budget than most of these collectives. Most of these collectives are working as a money in, money out operation. They got one or two people, one or three, 4 or 5 people working on the actual, operation things. But there's really like one face and one decision maker, right? In fact, if you search most of these, you will find the person really, really quickly. Everyone knows Georgia's. It's Matt Hibbs, right? Everybody knows who he is. But I don't know if the everyday common fan at the University of Georgia is aware of Classic City Collective, right? You guys got dads that are Georgia fans, I presume.
Yep.
If you said, hey, what do you know about the Classic City Collective? What would your dad say to you?
I mean, he would just he understands what it is, and like, oh, I can donate money to them if I want to. Like, I can give them money to help support sports at UGA. That's it, probably. I'm
not sure how much he knows about it.
Probably very little.
Yeah, probably not a lot.
But you went to Knoxville with me this year.
Yeah.
As an outside observer, it is impossible to walk in there and not know what Spire Sports is.
For real. I mean, the pregame, it felt like every other commercial was either brought to you by or it was a Spire Sports commercial.
Yeah. Because they are heavily invested in this. And I can't get over how crazy it was to walk in and go buy like a hot dog at a Tennessee football game. And instead of being able to offer a tip, I was able to offer NIL investment, where they have options. This is what I'm talking about. They're doing it better. Now, they're spending a lot more than you are, but they're doing it better. So how are you going to be? You can't be mad at them. You can't say it's all legal. They're doing it all above board. They're just attacking this way harder than anybody else.
I mean, yeah, the only thing you get at Georgia games is you get that one video of Kirby Smart, and it says, like, we need your help to help support athletics at the University of Georgia. Scan the QR code up on the screen. They do it at basketball games. They do it at baseball events, but that's it. Like, once that one commercial,
it's like 1 30-second promo.
Yep, and it's like right before the game, and that's it. And if you don't scan the QR code, then like, that's it, man. You have no idea what it is or anything.
By the way, a lot of these football programs selling some marketing naming rights. You go to Tennessee, you're going to see companies plastered all over the stadium.
Mm-hmm. I mean, Georgia Tech's doing it now too.
Georgia Tech just named their field, didn't they?
Hyundai Field or something like that.
Hyundai Field. I would imagine that football money is going directly to some type of collective or some type of something. You know what I mean? It's not going to women's track.
Yeah.
You know? That Hyundai money is probably going to pay Nick Singleton's NIL this year because they kept the best freshman wide receiver in the country last year. So yeah, some of these schools are doing it at a much higher rate. Some of these schools look at it as, I think we're just going to punt until regulation comes. I think we're just going to punt and try to survive and do all the ends meeting that we can possibly get to and just get there until revenue splits come.
Do you think Georgia's one of these teams?
I don't think. I think Georgia did a great thing Friday night, and I think Georgia got a bunch of money Friday night. But I don't think Georgia has cared to do a multi-level mass marketing scheme or mass marketing ploy like Aspire Sports has. So do they care about this? Yeah, they do. I think they're playing ball a lot more now this year and this cycle. They will play ball more on the NIL front, and this spring they will play ball on the NIL front more than they ever have because they know what they have. They have a roster right now that is getting combed through. But I think based off what I heard from Friday night, Georgia did what they needed to do to make sure that their roster is intact come August. So
you think they'd have better marketing schemes for a school that has one of the top business programs in the country?
I don't, for lack of a better term, I don't think they want to whore their program out.
I could see that.
I mean, pretentious is the wrong word, but there is we're the University of Georgia.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There is that going on, you know what I mean, in the athletic department. So, and for good reason. I mean, for very good reason. So I wouldn't be out here changing Vince Dooley Field to Delta.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I wouldn't do that either.
Shit. It would be nice to get whatever. I mean, they don't allow top dollar to be spent at Georgia from some of these corporate sponsors. They just don't. Just think about your everyday fandom experience when you go inside Sanford Stadium. You see a Coca-Cola emblem on your souvenir cup. There's a BMW ad played. Delta might be in the mix, but that's it. You don't see Brita logos everywhere, right? You don't see logos. Anyway.
You see them on the LED stanchions.
Correct. Which is, I mean, that ain't big money.
Cool, that's a couple $100K.
Yeah, if that.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I don't know if they ever been to this. I don't know if they have to. I think our version of college football is blown up within the calendar year.
Yeah, I mean, I think in an ideal world, the fact that Kirby Smart's your head coach, you're the Georgia Bulldogs, you're the number one program in the country right now, and you're going to compete for national titles every year is going to be enough to get the right prospects in the door. I think as college football goes on, if we continue with this model, you are going to see more and more star players want money elsewhere, and that's why you're not going to land these 5-star guys as much. But I think just by having Kirby Smart as your coach and the recruiter that he is, you're always going to be able to be in discussions with these top guys and be able to get top rosters in recruiting classes.
Mm-hmm. All right. So that's what a collective is. It is a monthly super PAC. Okay. A monthly super PAC. Let me ask you this, gentlemen, and I know how the chat feels about this. Don't we feel a little stupid putting the roster's burden on Johnny the football fan? Because I feel kind of stupid sitting here going, hey, y'all want better players, head over to Classic City Collective and pay a monthly fee. That feels stupid to me. When all we got to do is say, hey, 15% revenue split goes directly to your roster, endo, done. Spend the rest of the 85% however you want to. But where it's going to have to come out is, you know, some of your athletic department people probably don't need to be making $400,000 a year. Right. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like some of these people who have their salaries have just ballooned through the roof over the last 20 years in certain positions at universities. Some of these people don't need to be making that kind of money. All right. So if we have to come up with 15%, you'll find it. I promise you right now, you will find it in some of these ballooned salaries elsewhere.
Yeah, I mean, I think the argument against that is it's stupid to take money out of our pockets when we can go out and get it from the fans who would be so willing to donate. But I agree with you. I don't think you need to go to the fan base is going to give you the support elsewhere. They come to the games, they buy tickets, they buy apparel, stuff like that. Ask them to do more and give just flat out cash, I think is ridiculous. But I certainly understand the logic as to why some people do it.
Hey, but if you're a really rich person listening tonight and you want to get close to the University of Georgia football program, no better time than now. They will give you more access nowadays than they ever will before. It's going to cost you a shitload of money, but hey, you got it. That's why I'm talking to you. But yeah, there are opportunities like that at Georgia right now.
Shit, tell them to sponsor us.
Tell them to sponsor us. Is that what you said?
Yeah, why not, dude?
I did tell somebody the other day. I said I'll find the money, but I got to come in there with a camera and 2 camera guys, and I'm mic'd up. We're gonna make a content out of it. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna make some
exclusive content on that.
Yeah, we'll make some exclusive content, but I'll find the money. Hell, I'll take out a bank loan to give you the money. But I'm bringing cameras, baby. That would never happen. It would never be allowed. So there we go. Saturday's headline today. I think it's going to be a fun segment here. We have 2 more shows before spring practice or G-Day, so I don't want to hammer too much analysis here, real analysis. What I want to do is take an opportunity to kind of call our own shot here on Monday evening here on the network before Saturday's football game. So here's the first one. Saturday's headline today. Rod rumbles. Dog's big back has a day.
Ooh. Rod rumbles.
Rod rumbles. Okay. Roderick Robinson, everything. I watched the Florida State tape. Y'all remember this. This is before spring practice, right? I watched the Florida State tape. I put it up on patreon.com/Brooks Austin for all those guys to watch. And we specifically watched Rod. And I was blown away. I was absolutely blown away and mystified that this 6'1", 245, I mean, he might have been 250 in that football game. This 240-pound back was out here doing the things that he was doing against Florida State. And I was extremely pleased about the opportunity to see this in a full run. And then this spring, everything we've heard from practice is that he's lived up to all the hype that we gave you this spring about him. I expect him to have a big day on Saturday.
I like that one.
One of mine is just simply titled, Believe the Hype. The wide receiver room. You can believe the hype now. We finally get a good glimpse of him on Saturday. Multiple names. It's not just one dude that's kind of having a big day, and it's not just the 8th string on the roster that's having a big day. Like, it is your verified dudes that we've continued to hear about over the last few weeks. The Colby Youngs, the Dominic Lovitz. I mean, every single name on that depth chart. We see good things about them. We see a good connection with Carson Beck and those guys, and it feels like we can finally instill some solid belief in the fact that this wide receiver room is going to feel a little bit different than it has in years past.
Mine is, and it's because most Georgia fans are just yearning to see a Heisman winner. Heisman hype around Carson Beck begins early. And I think because he's going to have a good day at G-Day. Like, he's probably not going to throw the ball more than 25 times, but he's going to make big plays. He's going to make big throws. And he's going to do enough to get the national heads talking as well.
Actually, they chunked the piss out of it during these G-Day games.
Yeah, they have.
You know why? Whole lot safer to throw the ball out on the edge than it is to tackle in the box. So, yeah, I think both of these guys, I think Gunner and Carson are going to have like 35 attempt days. Honestly,
I mean,
I think they're going to throw a
it's also because there's not as many quarterbacks in the room this year. Like, you only have 3 scholarship guys necessarily.
I'll stick with the quarterbacks. Gunner stock up ton.
Ooh. Oh, you're going with punts.
Gunner stock up ton. You like that? I think the stock on Gunner is going to go not through the roof, but it's going to go up on Saturday. I think they're going to make sure that he has a really, really successful day. There's ways to do this. There's ways to go about it. But, you know, the simplest way to put it is maybe swallow the whistle a couple times so Gunner Stockton gets like a 40-yard ripper with the legs, whatever it is. And not only that, I don't think they even got to forge it or fabricate it or whatever. Gunner's had a really good spring. Gunner, for the first time, I've heard consistently good pub about Gunner, right? Whereas in years past, it was, had a good day today, had a good day today. Good day, right? Kind of like this with Gunner on the sourcing and the reporting from him. However, this spring it's been a slow build. It's been a slow build of a really, really good practice circuit for him. So Gunner stock up a ton this weekend.
That would be a really good one. I don't know what the headline would be. I was trying to think of a good one, but I think it'd really just be nice to see a positive headline about the defensive line. I think that anything that you can see of explosivity out of that line or anything of just kind of pushing, noticing that they are kind of getting their way with the offensive line at times, because I think we all know that the offensive line is really good. We expect them to play really well. So if you can see them just kind of, again, like have a really great day collectively. It doesn't have to be just one specific person or anything, like just as a collective unit. If you can see some pops from them, if you can see them disrupting the pocket a good bit, I think a lot of Georgia fans would walk away from Saturday saying like that alone is a major win.
Based off not only what we reported on patreon.com, but I'll kind of relay it here. The first scrimmage was a bludgeoning from the offensive line.
Yeah.
The second scrimmage sound like defensive line played the run much, much better. Apart from one cutback, I heard there was a bounce that happened. Rod took one for an explosive. But outside of that, defensive line played much better this past weekend than they did the week before.
I've got Georgia defense has found their next star in C.J. Allen.
Ooh.
I think you're going to look up and he's going to have an incredible day again, especially in that number 3. So
Sexy.
You think 85 tackles is reasonable this year for C.J. Allen?
85.
Yeah.
Total tackles.
Yeah.
Not solos, totals.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think
They're
he
going
had close to 35 last year. Let me look it up.
I mean, they should play 16 games this year. I think 85 is easily attainable to 16 games.
Right,
and he's
so
a Mike that can...
Shit, he had 41 last year as a freshman.
Yeah, absolutely. And he's a Mike that can play all 3 downs. Like, you're not going to take him off the field on 3rd down because he can't run in coverage. Like, he's going to be on the field basically the entire time unless he's absolutely gassed. So, yeah, I would say he could probably get close to 100.
I'm not only watching C.J. Allen this weekend to see just how much better he's gotten. I can't wait to see those young backers. Can't wait to see him. Because Smile's obviously not playing. So I think the first unit is going to be C.J. Allen and Raylan. And then maybe you rotate Terrell Foster in there with those guys. And then on the other side of the ball, the other team, I would just put all the youngins in there. Give me Chris Cole, give me Justin Williams, and I don't think Chris Jones is ready because of his knee, but give me those young cats and let me just watch. Let me just find out.
Man, if you could, that's fun to think about. Like if you, for one of your defenses, you just have like KJ Bolden, all the young linebackers, Ellis Robinson, and like all those guys just kind of on a defense, just to see what it looks like, just to kind of get a good picture of it and be like, let's go figure it out together. Let's see what you guys look like as a unit. That's really enticing to think about.
Probably the deepest unit that they have, even without Smile. Maybe offensive line, which is my next group. Headline, OH, like O-line. O-line. Ooh, man, they're going to be good. They're going to be good 2 deep Saturday. Both units are going to look really, really good for the first time. First time since I've covered them. You know, first units always look really good, and then there's like a couple of weaklings in the second unit. I think they're going to go 10 deep Saturday.
Do you think, which I don't know if they've ever done this, but do you think they do any type of like swing players on offense line that maybe you let them play on both sides just to see what like different units
I think they did
like?
that last year.
Last year, I thought the offensive line was in one solid unit, like color, weren't they? And didn't they do that at one point?
I don't know. That's what I was trying to think. I couldn't remember if they had done that or not. But I'm just wondering.
No, you know what it is? They let the quarterbacks run with the 1s and 2s, like on different units.
But no, I think the only guy that I could see playing both sides, like both teams, would be like a Tate.
Yeah.
Play center with the second unit.
Oh. Get
reps. That's going to be a fun thing for me to see is Tate Ratledge play center. I think the idea of having, now I know Jared Wilson's going to be great. I believe that. Truly. I can't wait to see him Saturday as well. Just move like an athlete. But something just keeps coming back to my head of, well, if you get Tate over to center, that means you get Dylan and Micah on the field at all times.
Well, not even that. Jared Wilson can be the best center in Georgia history, and he's one rolled ankle away from shit. We need Tate to be a center.
Correct.
So it's like,
I was just thinking about like when Jared plays, that means Dylan or Micah is off the field.
Right.
Yeah. I would rather, based off what I know, I would rather Micah Morris and Dylan Fairchild be on the field at all times if I could possibly do that.
That's where you feel like you're getting the most out of that unit.
Maximum. If we're talking about best 5, the best 5, it's impossible for me not to believe that it's Tate Ratledge at center, even though he's just now starting to play it, and those other 2 guys at guard, because those other 2 guys are NFL football players. I have people telling me Dylan Fairchild put some of the best tape, and I believe it. I didn't watch him solely every game, but when they went back and evaluated him this offseason and just tried to like put a grade on him as a scouting department, Dylan Fairchild had one of the highest offensive line grades that they've had in a long time last year as like a first-year spot starter. And we know how good Micah Morris is. And my mind keeps going back to that. We talk about best 5. Hard to believe your best 5 means one of those guys is on the bench.
Well, you know what Kirby says about best 5. It's not best 5, it's 5 best.
Oh, yeah.
So what unit's going to play together the best is what he's going to prioritize. So
yeah, which, again, the traditional center being there, the other guys being comfortable at guard, I'm thinking of it in the most idealistic terms, right? Like, hey, it's a Madden world. We just get to pull a 95
Put the highest overall. Yeah.
You're just going to take a 95 overall and slide him over here, and he's still a 95 overall. Yeah. That's probably not the case, right? Yeah. If Tate Ratledge is a 95 overall at guard, probably 87 overall at center. If Jared Wilson's a 92 overall, comfortable there, let's just play him there.
Yeah.
I get that. I'm with you 100%.
Dude, I cannot wait to see when the NCAA rankings come out. Yeah. You talking about that got me so excited.
So do you think that this is kind of backtracking a little bit in our conversation, but because that they do sling the ball a lot in these spring games, do you think we're going to get a lot of like Rod Robinson in the passing game, like get a really good glimpse of that?
Well, hell, we did last year, not of him, but of Cash Jones. Because, I mean, in the spring game in particular last year, Carson was, I'm not going to say Charlie checked down, but he checked the ball down a ton last year during the spring game. So, yeah, you could very well see Rod have that, oh, damn, he can do that type of day.
Oh, the stats available.
He's done that a little bit this spring during practice, right? You can find him
somewhere.
What, stats from last year?
Yeah.
I think we put him up. If you just search Georgia spring G-Day stats, SI.com, you might find it.
There's usually a PDF you can download.
Yeah, we got a PDF of it. But anyways, I got one more right here. Drop off to Delp, overblown. I think Oscar Delp's an NFL football player. Like a bona fide Sunday guy. Okay? And he's going to look different than Brock. He's not going to do some of the stuff that Brock did, but that don't mean he's not a great football player. Like the NFL buzz around Oscar's already started. Michael was up there in Indianapolis. Oscar Delp was up there in Indianapolis as the underclassman, get in here early, learn what the NFL combine situation looks like. Now, Malachi was hurt. Malachi was doing stuff with his shoulder, all this stuff. It probably would be Malachi and Michael as the two highest rated underclass draft available guys this year. But Oscar Delp's like very, very close, right behind those guys as a true three-down tight, as a guy that can play wide, as a guy that can be a routable option, as a guy that is going to be something in the pass department game, not just a go block guy. He's not Charlie Warner. He's not Brock Bowers. He's probably the closest combination of the two that you've had at the position in quite some time. It's going to make him a really, really coveted football player. I think we see that Saturday.
I think it's so interesting that if you kind of look at tight end rankings for next year's draft class, it's the Ben Urosic kid that everybody puts in there as the next tight end guy out of Georgia. But like when I think of Oscar Delp, I immediately think back to last year, and I can't help but get over this quite a bit, is that they kept trying to throw deep shots to Oscar Delp. Like they were trying to get explosive plays out of him. It felt like every single game. Now I know that kind of has an effect with Brock Bowers being in the game as well. Like there's some effect there of like, well, all eyes are on him. Let's try and slip Oscar Delp up the seam. Maybe we get a deep shot with him there. I know that that's in play, but I mean the same thing can be said this year. If this Urosic kid is what they are advertising him as to be, like maybe you can have some of that a little bit this year. But obviously they trusted Delp to be this explosive tight end for them. It's hard for me to imagine that Bobo isn't going to continue to evaluate him as such, and they're not going to just completely abandon him as such. I mean, it seems like they viewed him as this guy that, he's going to make big-time plays for us, and we trust him to make those big-time plays for us.
Yeah, I mean, just look at the Auburn and the Florida games in particular, and then Brock wasn't playing in the Florida game. They were sending him downfield shots. It wasn't like 5-yard hitches, quick outs, traditional tight end routes. Like, they were using him as a traditional, like Brock Bowers style tight end where it's like, go run Dovers for him.
Carson had 2 critical misses on him, one in Auburn and one in Florida.
Yeah.
Threw above his head against Florida on the sideline, and then against Auburn, I thought it was a combination of both.
Yeah,
I thought when we watched on the All 22, if you watch on the TV copy, it's like, damn, Beck just missed that guy terribly. And then if you watch on the All 22 copy, you're like, hey, Oscar, like you saw the ball for 5 steps. You should have made some type of adjustment. So I think it was a combination of both of those guys, but. I think there's also a level of confidence that has been provided to Oscar the last 12 months of really kind of being the number 2 and then midway through the year last year being the guy.
Yeah,
and now you practice the whole offseason like you're a guy, and there is a level of confidence that comes from that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, you went from the number 2 to, hey, you're the guy now to you are the guy.
Fact.
Like it's Brock or it's Oscar Delp, and then who else?
Jurasek.
I mean,
Jurasek.
I think it's also
Jurasek.
I think it's honestly a blessing that Jurasek isn't going to get here until the summer because of that. Like, you get to allow Oscar to be in that role for the entirety of the spring, and then for us as viewers, like, we get to see that on G-Day, like, of what Oscar looks like in that role just by himself, and really kind of just develop him into that even more than he already did last year.
If you're wondering what Carson Beck's numbers were last season, he was 15 for 22 for 231 yards.
To who?
In G-Day.
Oh, in G-Day. So I was like, what? What are you talking about? He threw it 22 times. Vandergrift threw it like 27 times, did he?
Vandergrift threw it 25, and he went 13 for 25.
And then Stockton had like 12 rips?
Yeah, 13 for 22, 144 yards.
Oh, wow. He got a bunch of run last year.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think both of those guys have over 30 attempts on Saturday.
But I mean, going back to your point with Gunner, I mean, they did that with Brock last year of like allowing him opportunities to run, show his legs, be an athlete. So I could definitely see them doing that with Gunner this weekend as well.
I would love to just hear Kirby on the microphone be like, all right, we're live on the queue. Just for Stockton, just once. Like, just a couple of drives.
He would never, dude.
I think he would. Because if it were me, now I know he's way smarter than me. He makes, $10 million a year making decisions like this. But if it were me, now the room is really thin, so you can't put him at risk. But I would have I know. It's why you don't do this. But I would have a really, really hard time evaluating Gunner Stockton without knowing that,
Yeah.
Like we played him live.
Maybe go thud on the queue.
I'll just live it up. Let's go. Live it up for 2 drives. You know who's not going to say no? Gunner Stockton's not going to say no.
Of course, Gunner Stockton's not going to say no, but...
And again, it's just one of those guys, man. Like, he's a football player first, quarterback second. You know what I mean? And those types of guys, you will never get a true eval on until you allow them to get tackled.
Right.
Because, he might have slipped out of that. He pulled the ball down and got 12 yards and converted the sticks. That's huge. And those are things you're not going to be able to see on Saturday. Any more Saturday's headlines today?
That's all I had.
Kirby quote of the week. Let's do it.
So
it's a new segment. Introduce it to the folks.
I'll go ahead and preface this. So the fact, because of all the writing and all the Georgia content we consistently put out and consume, the Google, YouTube, all the algorithms basically just shove Georgia stuff
You're
down.
inundated with
I'm inundated at it to the point now where I'm getting like old press conferences from games like 5, 6, 7 seasons ago. And so I've started watching, just listening to him just to see, like, has he changed his philosophies in certain ways? And he really hasn't.
He definitely looks different.
Looks a lot different. Looks a lot. He's aged a lot.
Like a president.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
That's actually insane.
Yeah.
He's aged like a president.
No shit. That was not a joke.
No, I know. But basically, I was watching him today. I was like, there's a lot of good quotes in there. And I feel like some of the quotes kind of indicate what the game was. So I was seeing if I could read the quotes off to you that I took down and seeing if you could figure out which game the quote was from. So I'll give a little hint for this. This was early in his tenure. So like first 2 or 3 seasons. And it was after a loss. So the quote is, we challenge, in reference to their guys, we challenge them all week to go out on special teams because these guys, they're good. They're good at what they do and they still got us. So which game do you think this was?
I'm trying to think of games where I felt like there was like a key special teams moment.
Auburn got him one year, special teams wise. The punter was just great, though.
Yeah.
But I don't know if it's an Auburn game. That was after
a loss. The loss to Auburn was not because of special teams. I think of 2016 Georgia Tech. I feel like there was a key special teams moment in that game that kind of impacted the football game. Obviously, the 2018 loss to South Carolina. It wasn't just the field goal miss in overtime. 2 pick 6s, wasn't it? Do what?
Yeah. It's 2 pick 6s.
Yeah, there was 2 pick 6s, but ultimately it was because you missed a field goal in overtime. Those are the 2 that I think of right now of like special teams moments.
So you had the right season, wrong game. It was 2016 Tennessee. And obviously everyone remembers that game because of the Dobbs-Nell boot, but I think a lot of people forget that Tennessee's punt return team like had their way with Georgia that game. And obviously the controversial kick at the end where that's ultimately set up Tennessee to throw that go-ahead touchdown.
But that was also because you had a player run on the field after the touchdown without his helmet on, and that induced a 15-yard penalty on the kickoff, and that's why you had to kick it like from the 20-yard line and why Tennessee got such great field position. I almost said that game, but I was like, that wasn't because of special teams. That was because just in the heat of a moment, you had a player make a bad decision.
Was that the last time Georgia had one of those penalties?
No, they had it
No,
after.
I'm not talking about that specific penalty, but like a penalty where you're like, damn, that's undisciplined.
No, they had it. They did it in Kentucky because Kirby made a point after in 2021, and they did it in the Peach Bowl actually too.
That Kirby Smart can't get his message across, huh?
I guess not.
Uncoachable kids.
But yeah, I'll the next time I'm sure I'll watch another presser. I'll kind of pull from it and see if you can guess the.
I think next time, give me like a couple of quotes.
Multiple quotes from the same.
Especially if I've been in the room, I promise you, my brain will remember.
All right.
I promise you.
When did you start 2018, you said?
My first press conference was Kent State 2019. My first year being at every single one was last year.
What was your first question? Do you remember that?
Yeah, I do. Kent State, I noticed, this was Trayvon Walker's freshman year. I noticed that Trayvon Walker was covering kicks at 6'4", 275 pounds. And first game of the year. And this is, I didn't know what kind of room I was in. I just was I thought about the question, was going to ask it.
Yeah.
And based off his reaction, I knew that moment, because that's the first time I've ever watched press conferences, ever gone into one of his. It was very apparent to me. He was like, football question, what the shit? And then he kind of gave me eye contact, and he went into his special team spiel about how you do not play here until you get on special teams. So yeah, I wanted to ask him. I asked him specifically. I noticed Trayvon Walker, a former 5-star, 6'5", almost 300 pounds, covering kickoffs. How do you get guys like him to buy in on special teams? And it was a lob for him to do you play special teams first here. You will always play special teams first. And I remember him talking about how it means a lot here. Like I sit in on special teams meetings. I prioritize special teams meeting. I make sure I'm there. I make sure people see me around that so they know it is vital to our success. So yeah, I do remember the very first question I asked him, and it was that one.
All right.
A love story ever since. Just kidding.
It's kind of cool though.
It is.
Funny that it connects with your quote of the day too. That special teams. Coach up, man.
This guy asking special teams questions. Boy, have I changed.
Yeah, I was about to say,
no
wait a
kidding.
minute. Your first ever question was a special teams question.
Well, ironically enough, it was about a real football player playing special teams. You know, it wasn't about the damn kicker. It was about the 5-star future #1 overall draft pick covering kicks and doing so in a rate and a level of fear created in the opponent and the opposition that is unmatched to this day. I can't tell you how many people were like, oh my God, just get the hell out of the way of number 44 running down the field. Because why the hell wouldn't you? I wouldn't touch him.
No, I mean, yeah, but...
You don't think that Brett Thorson is an actual football player?
Oh, here we go.
I got to be careful. I think Brett Thorson's coming for my job.
It sure seems like it.
Yeah, no, he's trying. He's efforting for the first time that I've seen a real I'm going to get into media presence is coming from Brett Thorson, mate. It's coming right there.
Had to slip in.
I'm here for it.
And I'm not going to try. I'm not even going to try.
Yeah, the whole video
How's
today.
your sister?
She's pretty hot.
She's hot.
She's pretty hot. Doesn't matter. She's still hot.
Yeah, that whole
There you
video
go.
they did today was gold.
Yeah,
From
of
top
him
to
voicing
bottom.
over
Masters.
the Masters.
Yeah, I love the driver sound effect when Thorson punts in the video. I'm like, come on, man. That's
Yeah.
good stuff.
He calls himself a good-looking lad, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
He's a good-looking lad here. I hate the Masters weekends this weekend.
I do too. You missed,
Not that I got tickets to the damn Masters or anything, but
Why do you hate
you
it?
missed Saturday.
yeah, I'm gonna miss Saturday.
You'll miss all of
I'm gonna be
Saturday.
working all day Saturday. You should.
Oh,
be too.
yeah. I didn't even think about that.
Yeah.
Missing all of Saturday, but
I wasn't-
all that matters is Sunday. Sunday's
I
all
wasn't
that
going to
matters.
watch it anyways.
Moving day is a
Did y'all
good
hear
day.
Tiger shot 31 on the front nine?
I did see that.
It's good for him.
You want to know the key is apparently? Don't do sex. You didn't see this headline?
He celibate?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The leg thing.
They said that the whole last 2 months leading up into the Masters, he has not had sex, and it's because he's trying to win the Masters.
There's no,
That's a
sci-
very weird thing to tell a reporter.
There's no scientific evidence.
It was a whole
behind it.
headline. On
I've no
Twitter.
nutted the last 2 months. I'm gonna win this tournament. That's wild,
And if it works, you might have a little bit more people doing it.
man. You're gonna see celibacy across the country.
Tim Tebow. I mean,
Tim Tebow got a lot of.
I'm Tiger No Wooden it for a month.
Huh?
I'm Tiger No Wooden it for a month.
Tiger No Wood. But I mean, let's be fair though. Like back in his prime, he was doing anything but that.
Yeah.
So like,
but he was in his prime.
Get some old age on you though.
Now you got to store up that energy and testosterone for long drives. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Chat's loving the fact that you said that.
Yeah, I know.
Figures.
But yeah, it ain't November. My man's out here celibate. That's crazy.
Means that much to him.
Good luck, brother. Just feeling juiced up on the golf course. I think it's the Sunday Red company that he started. Isn't that what it's called? He's got his own apparel company now. He got rid of.
He's not with Nike anymore.
Yeah, he's not with Nike anymore. Isn't it called Sunday Red?
It's something like that.
So, but he doesn't wear red on Sundays anymore. I saw a tournament where he wasn't wearing red on Sunday.
I think he does it for the majors. Like Masters, I think he'll definitely be in Sunday Red. You're talking about probably the Genesis Invitational, the one that he hosts.
Tiger Woods it's called Sunday Red. That's pretty dope. Sunday, 2 words apparently, according to Tiger Woods.
Huh.
Sunday Red. So there you go. Interesting little Tiger Woods segment right there. We got Kirby quote of the week. Let's talk about these timelines, these quarterback timelines. Ryan Montgomery. Ryan Montgomery is a 6'4", 225-pound signal caller out of Findlay, Ohio. Ryan Montgomery runs an empty style offense where he throws the football about 50 times per game right about now.
Does that scare, or does that kind of raise red flags to coaching?
It scares me that he's doing it out of empty. Because here's why. You take 50 snaps out of empty, you're going to get cover one all day long. You're going to pick and stick all day long. I like this matchup. I like this matchup. It makes coverages simplistic. You can only do so many things. You can either run cover 4, keep everything up underneath you. You can run cover 1, which is what most teams do against empty, which everything's man-to-man. You got one safety over the top. But yeah, that makes reads really, really simple. But there's good news that he's dropped back 50. I mean, he's comfortable. He's dropped back 50 times a game. It's the opposite of like trying to project JJ McCarthy to the NFL. It's like this guy's got games where he's got 9 attempts.
Right.
How do I would chop the whole game up? I can't even evaluate it. You know, where this guy from a mechanic standpoint, he's going to be able to stand in there and rip it all day long. You would imagine his accuracy is dramatically increased over the time span of doing this, and his processor's probably pretty
good. Yeah, I'm asking more from like a wear and tear fatigue spot. Because, I mean, if running backs are getting the ball 30 times a game in high school, like that's kind of a red flag. So I didn't know if maybe just because, hey, this guy's slinging it 50 times a game, that might raise a red flag. I'm
a firm believer that if you throw it right, you can throw it all day long.
Okay.
That's my. It's not like throwing a baseball, and I can try. Do we have football in here? We do.
Yeah, they're all on the TV.
And I think we have a baseball too. We have tennis ball. All right. So,
turn the lab on.
No, I don't need to.
Okay.
Come over here. All right. So when I throw a baseball, it's 2 pressure points, right? It's these 2 fingers, and the all the energy and all the force is pulled down through these 2 fingers. It's very isolated, right? I'm either on the edge of the ball, or I got 2 change-up fingers, right? It's almost always 2 fingers, maybe 2.5. Get this little extra here, right? That's a baseball. All right. That's why you see a lot of elbow strains and elbow issues. UCL, right? Tommy John ligament, right? See a lot of these UCL ligaments tear because all that pressure is upon 2 points, and it's a real violent down motion. You're pulling down through the football or through the baseball. You throw a football, we got 5. We got 5 connective points on our hand, right? It's all spread out across our entire hand. You know what hurts most when I get done throwing a football 150 times?
Your oblique.
My forearm. My forearm is blown. My wrist is killing me by the end of the day because I'm constantly spreading that energy across 5 fingers, and it kind of really stops and focuses right here. Okay. The wear and tear from your shoulder socket just comes from the wear and tear, but it's not as intensified or centrally located as a baseball motion is, right? So when like I said, if you're throwing the football correctly, if your mechanics are clean, which Montgomery's appear to be, and you have for him a tremendous amount of surface area to spread that energy and create that energy across from, you're not going to experience as much wear and tear as a baseball thrower would. Okay. So that's why I can go 4 days of throwing 150 balls a day at practice as a quarterback and still play on Saturdays without having to, go run foul poles or do whatever to break down the lactic acid.
Wasn't there a quarterback recently that did have to have Tommy John surgery? But it's like it hardly ever happens. I can't remember who it was, but I feel like if someone in the NFL had to have it done. Let me look it up.
Yeah, no. Purdy effed up his elbow last year because he got hit.
He got hit. Yeah.
He got hit and pulled and strained that ligament in that elbow. So I think it might have been him. But yeah, the difference is the pressure points for me. Like it feels really violent and sudden with a baseball where I'm pulling through the ball, whereas with a football, I'm more like cutting the edge of it. Like I'm trying to get on the side of the ball and then create a rollover as the ball comes out of my hand.
Yeah, it was Brock Purdy.
Yeah, but that was a him getting hit thing. I've never heard of a quarterback throwing out his arm or throwing out his shoulder because it's just not as violent.
Yeah.
So there's that.
It's a big epidemic in MLB right now.
So no, I don't worry about the wear and tear. It's more of a, we've gotten more cuts at it. We see more things. We've thrown more footballs. We feel more accurate because we've thrown more footballs. The whole reason we were talking about Ryan Montgomery to start was because Ryan Montgomery has, I don't know if he has an actual date set, but he has a timeline set for his commitment. Okay. Just got back from a visit, I believe, to Florida. We'll take another visit to South Carolina, and then he's going to wrap up his commitment. Now, I'll tell you right now, if Ryan Montgomery calls and Georgia says, yeah, come on. He's a Georgia Bulldog. I don't have any qualms about saying that. The question, and it was very similar to the Zollers question, but Zollers was ahead of Montgomery on the board and was kind of neck and neck from what I understand with Julian Lewis. They would have taken Zollers last week. Okay, they would have said, okay, we're good. And they would have probably called it a day. Now, with Montgomery, I don't know if they're going to take Ryan Montgomery's commitment in 2 weeks or whenever it comes down, 3 weeks, whenever it comes down, because I believe they are all in, or at least all in on waiting to find out if they can make it happen with Julian Lewis. So these quarterback timelines have really, really escalated in the last couple of weeks. And from my understanding of talking to different recruits around the country and different quarterback parents, this has become a push from teams. They want these quarterbacks in early and solidified and done, because not only do they need to get the momentum, you want to do all the recruiting, you want everyone to know who your guys, but also they want to be able to allocate and forecast the NIL money that's going to cost to land these quarterbacks way earlier before they get into anything else. So it was not a coincidence. Now, it's probably a byproduct of the class itself, but it was not a coincidence that Missouri's quarterback led off their class. Now they know exactly what their budget is for the rest of their class. They know what they can go spend because the big money check has already been delivered. They're not going to come up short on that towards the end of the class because they've already allocated it. Or they've already forecasted, I should say, not allocated it.
So say we get to 2 weeks from now and it's Ryan Montgomery's time to commit, and Julian Lewis still hasn't done anything. Are you at a point where if you're Georgia, you kind of have to go with the sure thing and say, hey, we'll take a commit from Ryan Montgomery just because we don't know what Julian Lewis is going to do? Or is it you're still going to try to hold out for him?
These are the discussions that are being had right now in that scouting department and in that building. I would imagine they're sitting down and they're saying, hey, in the next 3 weeks, can we make something happen with Julian Lewis? And if not, we got to go elsewhere. And the elsewhere is Ryan Montgomery. And I'm under the impression that if they take Ryan Montgomery, he won't be the only one. He won't be the only quarterback they take in this class. I think if they take Montgomery, they try to take a guy like Luke Nickel as well. They try to go flip him, and they try to get 2 stabs at the quarterback class instead of just the one in Montgomery.
But you think if they take Montgomery, there's like no shot at Lewis?
No, I think they keep working at Lewis till the end. I think they work Julian Lewis until the last moment.
Right, but do you think if like taking Ryan Montgomery turns Julian Lewis away, even though Georgia's still going to heavily pursue him, do you think Julian Lewis goes, all right, they got their quarterback in 2025, I'm going to stick with USC?
No, I think the Julian Lewis discussion is whether or not Georgia is going to be willing to play ball at a certain rate.
Gotcha.
Okay. That being said, I don't think the number that they have to get to is near as high as people think. And this is something I told you guys last week. Last week, I came on this network and I said, I don't know who y'all are talking to, but I feel like I'm really close to the Julian Lewis camp. I feel like they've been very honest with me. I've covered that kid since he was 14 years old, and never once have they ever talked about going to the biggest bag. Never once. Every single time it has been a football discussion. Can you maximize my abilities, right? Yes. Name, image, and likeness plays a role, as it will with every quarterback the remainder of time. But priority number one is, do we feel safe handing over this talented asset to you to cultivate? That is priority number one. Can you protect and cultivate this asset? If the answer is yes, you are in the mix. Guess where the answer has always been yes? The University of Georgia. They have always had a chance with this kid. It has never been solely about money. Money will play a factor. Money will always play a factor with every single one of these kids, but it is not the starting point. It has never been the starting point. I told you that last week. Some of you thought I was full of shit. And then guess what? We see Julian Lewis tweet this yesterday. And the tweet reads, and I'm going to read it to you because I retweeted it yesterday. And I know Jay Will's putting it up on the board for you guys right now, but I want to read this aloud. I've always picked development over money. NIL was legal in other states, but I stayed in Georgia to play for Joey King to be ready for the next level. I'm hearing rumors about me and my family, but the only thing you need to believe are my actions. Hashtag trust God. Hashtag keep working. That was a tweet he put out yesterday. And the reason being, they hear this shit every time they get brought up at the University of Georgia, every time they get brought up elsewhere, every time they get brought up in general, the discussion begins and ends with, he's going to be expensive. He's going to be expensive. He's going to be expensive. That ain't the starting point. In fact, that tweet is 100% right. 18 months ago, California opened it up. We are allowing high school kids to make money off their name, image, and likeness. Guess who got every single California major school in the country blowing their phone up trying to get them to transfer out to California? Julian Lewis. And guess who's stuck right at Carrollton under one of the best, if not the best, offensive minds in high school football? Joey King. Julian Lewis stayed right there. Didn't leave. Didn't bat an eye. So I don't know why. I don't know where it comes from. I think I know why. But I don't know why this kid gets labeled with it. I think it's maybe the Travis Scott stuff. Maybe it's because he has 500,000 followers on Instagram. Whatever it is. But it's always started with, well, Julian Lewis is going to be expensive. No, Julian Lewis is going to be fair market value, and Julian Lewis is going to go somewhere where they trust. So,
yeah, I said this last week. I think that being a 5-star high-profile quarterback comes with the idea that, oh, this is an expensive player. Just because the quarterback has been the highest paid player in NIL, they're usually the most demanding when it comes to this. Obviously, Julian Lewis is not this type of situation, but when you have 95% of the other guys that are doing this, he kind of gets lumped into that.
Well, not only that, I mean, you commit to USC when you did. I mean, at the time, there was still a whole lot of time left on the Julian Lewis timeline for when he was going to be in college football. Mm-hmm. And then you commit to a program like USC. That just comes with, unfortunately, assumptions that, oh, well, that costs a lot of money. I mean, why else would he go ahead and commit to USC other than, of course, Lincoln Riley is there? But it just comes with assumptions nowadays. And I mean, we talked about it, like college football fans nowadays. I mean, we are so quick to jump to just the conclusion of, well, that's because they dropped a bag. Like, they paid him a lot of money. Like, that's why he's going to that school. But there's other factors that play a role as well.
What are you laughing about?
The Dairy Queen comment in the chat. Yeah.
Hey, Dairy Queen, super underrated burger. Super underrated.
Interesting.
Slide through Dairy Queen, get you a cheeseburger.
I've heard they got some solid breakfast too.
DQ breakfast?
I swear. That's what I've heard.
How are you going to hype up DQ burgers and then shudder at DQ breakfast?
I mean, because if you're thinking Dairy Queen at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Sometimes that's all you got, man.
I guess. How good's your ice cream cone game? Can you make a good ice cream cone?
Do that again?
Well, that's how you do it. You gotta you pull the ice cream and then it starts to go and then it starts to fill up and you gotta push it back up in and then back down. And that's how they create that like wavy look on the cone.
Yeah, the stack.
All that matters is making sure that the first drop goes right down the middle. That's all that matters.
Nah, man, you got to be able to figure out how to stack that thing, and then at the end, you got to pull it off. As it's, hey man, why are you always so dirty? Oh, you got to pull it off at the end, and then let that last little ice cream like flip over, so it's got a little curly Q at the top. You ever had a dipped cone?
Yeah.
Elite is a dip cone.
Got this man salivating over here.
I mean, first we're talking NIL, then we're talking ice cream cones. I wanted to do that. I told you so because I told you so. It came out late with Zollers, right? Everybody was like, "Oh, he's going to Missouri, big money, big money, big money, big money." But it didn't come out early. You didn't label Zollers a money guy.
Yeah.
But you did the 5-star that reclassed.
Yeah, I think it's just because Julian Lewis. I mean, he's the most desirable quarterback in that 2025 class. So with that is going to come, oh, he must be demanding this, and this.
Favorite fast food burger?
Favorite fast food.
By the way, has to have a drive-through. Five Guys, get the fuck out of here.
Whoa.
That's a cop-out. Five Guys is not a fast food restaurant. It is a sit-down restaurant.
I agree.
Wendy's probably.
Wendy's?
Yeah.
Whataburger.
Not a fan.
Not a fan. Never had a good Whataburger. Never.
You got it. Once you have a good Whataburger, trust me.
Did we have Whataburger out in San Antonio?
Yeah, we did. Was not a fan.
It was mid.
Florida Whataburger is different.
Oh,
Florida Whataburger hitting different.
Florida Whataburger is hitting, bro.
I'm going to go BK. I like a good Whopper, even though she's betrayed me the last couple of times. Just woke up sicker than dog piss after eating a Burger King Whopper. But damn, what a good burger.
must be good if you keep going back to it.
Hey, only doubled down once since, and she hit me again right in the face.
I don't know what it is, but Burger King's got a negative stigma around it.
Lack of advertising?
It may have been the whole dollar nugget thing, where it's like, ooh, y'all doing something, y'all cutting corners somewhere. There ain't no way that we're paying $1 for some actual chicken tenders, man. Like,
oh damn, chat saying food poisoning from BK twice. Oh, so you did it with me. You was out here doubling down on the BK.
I had food poisoning from McDonald's and I went back. So
I had food poisoning from Chick-fil-A sauce. The first time I ever had it. I don't know if I got poisoning from that or if I was just too fat, eating too much too fast when I was a kid. But I threw up and all I could taste was the Chick-fil-A sauce.
It's whatever you can taste.
And never came back to it. However, as an adult, tried it again and was like, ooh, this shit hitting.
Yeah.
So yeah, got back on the Chick-fil-A sauce. However, read a label on a Chick-fil-A bottle and you'll never eat that stuff again. Never eating Chick-fil-A sauce ever again after reading the bottle.
Bad for you.
Yeah, it'll blow up your whole dietary plan for the day. So it's the mayo apparently at Burger King.
That would make sense, I guess.
It would. All right, that's a full show for us tonight. Appreciate you guys being here. Make sure you hit that thumbs up button on your way out. If you're not already subscribed, please feel free to do so. We'll be back tomorrow, 8 o'clock. Love you.